Another crucial member of Classified is now down, but Chisakita comes alive.
That gets to the beat only on themselves. They're getting the touch here. It will force overtime. It's had to wait long enough to have some help from right here, but they will lose their life first. The rest of their team getting already two. Making three members of the Crackers are down. The PP Plunderers can taste it. They're gonna love it.
363 regular season matches, over 600 players, 92 teams, 4 skill divisions, all in the search of one title.
These 8 teams have poured their blood, sweat, tears, their very hearts and souls into getting to this point.
The moment we've all been waiting for is finally here.
A journey that's been filled with triumph, with loss, with the anticipated, and with the unexpected.
From dominant performances to nail-biting tiebreakers, and every player putting it all on the line.
We have our underdogs, who've come out of nowhere and taken everyone by surprise. We also have top teams from previous seasons, coming back and looking to rewrite their story. They're now here, hungrier than ever, trying to learn from past defeats and ascend to the throne.
For some, this is a chance to make history. For others, it's to make up for the past, to make up for you're getting so close, but failing to reach it.
4 teams who have constantly fought to be the best in the limelight. 4 teams who have battled through the darkest nights to reach the dawn.
This is it, the final stretch, the battle for the title of champion.
The stakes are high, the competition is fierce. This is where legends are made.
One last gauntlet remains, separating these 8 teams from calling themselves champions.
In the final match of Season 11, we have one of the most storied tiers in all of Tranquility history. The teams, though, both first-year orgs looking to make their names firmly in the Tranquility history books. It is a battle of the land versus the sea. Third Esports versus Louisiana Lobsters, starting now. Hello everyone, and welcome to Discord tier here at Tranquility Esports. I am here with LiteRose and CeeBee, 2 goated casters here in Drexel University in beautiful I can't talk.
Can't call
Philadelphia,
it Pittsburgh. You
Pennsylvania.
cannot call
Philadelphia,
it
Pennsylvania.
Pittsburgh.
I was about to say Pittsburgh. There's too many P's in
I was gonna
Pennsylvania.
say.
We were watching like the pre-show for
We were
the
watching
Steelers
the pre-show
game
for the
before
Steelers game, so cut me some slack.
I got to pretend I
go
knew anything
Birds.
about football.
Yeah, go Birds, all that jazz. I got to get a Keller Green jersey before we leave here. But LiteRose, how are you doing tonight on this fine Thursday evening?
It's nice. It snowed this morning. It was like the first snow of the year. I got to walk. Get a nice cozy. And we get to come in here in the nice heating and cast some Overwatch.
CeeBee, same settlement, or you not like the snow like I do?
Okay, I grew up in Alaska, so I had more than enough snow to last a lifetime. And it I just want to see the sun again. Like I work all day, cast from home. On the the commute here, I was like, it's already dark. I hate this.
Yeah, getting dark at 4 p.m. Seasonal depression up top all the time.
Oh, in spades.
Yeah, and of course, obviously casting tonight, it's going to be a tough game. Obviously, we talked about it a little bit beforehand. 2 teams, obviously, it is Diamond tier, it is Discord tier, so it's a little bit lower than what a lot of people think about. But hey, this sort of tier is always hype because of low it is. First things first, though, let's talk about the number 2 seed, Louisiana Lobsters. Their first year in the Tranquility season, they've come down and they've made it a lot. And it's just the amount of people that are coming into it. They've had a lot of it, a lot of all-stars. As we look at the rosters here, just complete dominance all around the board. Again, we talked about it. I talked about it yesterday with the Ascendant tier. Just best nods on every single position: MVP, flex support, main support, DPS, tank. Just be able to do it. And what do you think it's going to go into this being like? Hey, obviously they face each other multiple times. What does it take from this team that's like, hey, we have the best nods, to come out here and be like, hey, we're going to do it again no matter what?
I think it's gonna take that Doomfist buff that we saw in the recent patch notes. When he uses his ult, he just heals. And probably gonna be up to full health. So it makes you immediately start to re-engage with your team that really likes Doomfist. That is a welcome change, and I think that will actually impact as we go into things. Will it counter Dirt Esports Sigma comp? I don't know. We're gonna have to see if their cooldowns are really on par to actually stop that Doomfist comp.
Yeah, and then CeeBee, obviously, of course, they went 5-0 stage 1. That was their big stage. Then stage 2 faltered a little bit, going 1 and 2, -3 map differential in stage 2. What's it like coming from that sort of weak stage 2 to go into this playoff and go on this run that included beating Dirt Esports and sending them to the lower bracket?
I mean, it just shows incredible mental fortitude to be able to stick through all that, going that down that far, and to be able to come all the way back up, make that much of a run. That speaks to the mental. But I mean, with the recent patch, all of the changes, and all of that happening this deep into a tournament cycle, that's going to be tested a little bit more. So I mean, there's one final hurdle there that they're going to have to get over.
Yeah, and then looking at their sort of bracket run a little bit. I don't know if we have the graphic ready for it, but they beat number 1 Dirt Esports, beat number 2 seed Clairvoyance twice, beat Lucky Shots, beat Alternate Inferno. So just look at this bracket. They beat people that are higher above them. Obviously, they were seeded as the number 5 seed, but then getting reseeded to the number 2 seed, that talks about their resilience coming into this playoff, coming into this sort of grand finals bracket.
I mean, 4-0? Beating the number 1 seed like that? That only comes from a team that has something to work for, and they have something to show. I'm really excited to see how they're going to take on the Louisiana Lobsters and Dirt Esports, because I think that these are a battle that we don't really see 2 equal matches. And I think this is the first time that we're going to see something like that in the playoffs.
Yeah, and then of course, just going through it again, we do have an interview with the #1 best MY support, Cairo, coming up, and just talking about him again before we go into the interview. He was like, "Hey, this is our first year doing it. We're just having fun trying to do it, and it's exciting to watch these new teams come into it, especially with it." So let's head it to our interview.
Hello everyone, I am Vila and I am joined by Chio of the Louisiana Lobsters. Chio, thank you so much for joining us today and congratulations on making the grand finals for the Discord tier season 11. And the first thing that I want to ask you is, you started off so strong to the year, 6 straight wins in a row, but then
to go all the way. At the beginning, we were kind of like, we're going to fill ourselves out, but after that, we kind of felt good. Those 2 losses in a row really hurt. That was one thing we were all afraid of going into the season was how does our team react whenever we take a loss? Because we hadn't lost much within scrims, matches. So when that first loss hit us, first thing after the game was, how do we fix it? And then we got a second loss, and it was, okay, we made more mistakes. How do we fix it? And so those are really good things for us, and I think those are big reasons why we ended up winning more and getting to where we are now. Even after the first round of playoffs, we won our first game, and the first thing afterwards was, we made mistakes tonight. How do we fix it? So there was never really like a highs or lows. It was always consistent of how do we get better? And I think that's a really big thing of why we've made it as far as we have this season.
yeah, it can be tough. You're just only winning. It's like no matter what, you can't lose, and you have those 2 losses, and now it's like, man, now we can't even take a map. And then to be able to switch that around going right into the playoffs is really, really impressive. I don't think a lot of teams would have the fortitude to be able to overcome that kind of adversity. One of the teams that you took that loss to in week 8 was Dirt Esports, who you're playing tonight. So you take that 3-0 and then you go into the playoffs and then you win a very decisive 3-1. And so what does it mean for you? How confident are you to be playing against that exact same team here now in the grand finals?
I'd say we're fairly confident. We're really good at what we do. They're really good at what they do. But we're very confident in our ability to adjust as the game goes on and continue to make plays against what they do and hopefully come out on top the same way we did the last time we played them.
Very humble, I like it. I wanted to ask, obviously winning and losing are both team efforts. We all know that, but I wanted to ask you, who do you feel is the biggest X factor on your team and for what reason?
I'd probably say Vespi King. I know a lot of people talk about me on our team, but he's been like the solid rock on our team. He's been able to play every tank we've asked him to play. He kind of dictates tempo and he kind of goes under the radar with the things he does. But he kind of does everything for our team. Like if there's a stats board on the screen during the games, everybody would be like, wow, he does a lot, because he genuinely does like everything for us. He calls tempo, he calls ults, he wins his fights, he wins fights for us by himself sometimes, and he kind of keeps everybody calm and collected. Like when everybody else is riled up, he's level no matter what. And so I would think he's our biggest X factor going into this week, as he has been pretty much throughout the whole season.
Outstanding, great players all around. Lastly, I just wanted to ask, do you have any kind of message to Dirt before this final begins? Anything that you want to put out there for him?
We're shutting the Doomfist down. We're shutting the Doomfist down. Nobody else has been able to do it, it seems, but we're going to do it again.
Well, let's see. And thank you so much for joining us, Chio. We're going to bring it back over to our casters for this grand final and the Discord tier. Thank you.
Obviously, great interview by Chio. Obviously, he was being very humble about his answer to who's going to pop off the most. One thing that when I was talking to before tonight, interesting fact about him, he did not play Overwatch 1. He came into playing Overwatch 2 and then swapped to PC a week before joining the team. Just that fortitude to be able to switch that fast, because I know for myself, switching from console to PC, it took me a good 3-4 months to get used to it, and especially being a main support as well. You can't really have that sort of that fast learning cycle. Obviously, it's a little bit easier, but if you're playing the Lucio, you got to try to map those keybinds a lot different to try to get to your style.
I do know of a lot of players who've reached like high tier competitive scene switching from console over to PC, but to do it without having the experience from Overwatch 1, that's a pretty quick learner right there. That's like at a very accelerated pace to get to that kind of level where you can be an asset to a team, like they have thus far.
Yeah, and then obviously he was talking about just the stage 2. We talked about it a little bit beforehand, and it goes back to the old sort of attitude where it's like, hey, you got to learn how to win. Obviously, they went 5-0 stage 1. They learned, and they lost a little bit in stage 2. What's it like for them now being like, hey, we lost the stage 2 a lot. What's it like them now saying, hey, we've learned how to win. We got to win this out. We got to try to finish what we started.
It's kind of like what Cassie said earlier. It's their mental fortitude, but it's also just the ability to have a consistent mindset with your team. To have a goal, and no matter what, you do not stray from that goal. And that does take a very rock-hard foundation. It takes good leadership, but if you kind of find that union, you will get championships. And I think that may be a reason why we see the Louisiana Lobsters in the grand final, and a reason why they could take the whole thing in the end.
Yeah, not to mention as well the teams that they beat as well. The 1 through 4 seed basically above them. But switching it to the other side now, the team that they beat in playoffs, basically their first time meeting them, they're Esports. Coming into it from the lower bracket, having this sort of lower stage run, it's been amazing for them as we look at the rosters here. Just, again, we talked about it for both teams, just the amount of all-stars and role stars that they have on both teams. Dr. Tepper, I said Dr. Pepper.
Someone's thirsty.
I am thirsty. But no, I was talking with him beforehand, and just, like, he seems very just well-rounded and just like, hey, we're a new roster. This is their first year playing in a competitive Overwatch scene. Not even just a new, just all these players having a brand new sort of team mentality. They came from other games, played from other stuff, even some mobile games. And just being here in this roster, he talked about their fortitude and their sort of learning curve. We talked about it a little bit with Gio, but go through it with a whole new roster. Obviously, you're a coach, but you can't control what goes on when you're playing.
Yeah, especially in in scrims, it gets really difficult a lot of the time. In games, it gets difficult a lot of the time when things aren't going to plan. Sometimes the comms get quiet. Sometimes things aren't going the way they're supposed to go. People aren't calling out the things that they're supposed to call out. Everything gets really, really tense, and that's something that's really, really difficult, especially for newer teams to try and overcome. And, to be a coach and be able to get your team to come together and not only teach them how to play together as a team, but how to push through those really tense, stressful moments is, that's a mark of a true great right there.
Yeah, and one of the things that I mentioned as well was, hey, they did lose to Louisiana after. Right now they're 1-1, had that Week 8 victory. Their loss was in the playoffs. What's it like losing that game? And Dr. Hooper said, hey, we're not familiar with losing. It's apparent when a team is just getting gapped, and we got gapped that game. As we throw up the bracket here, and then they gapped the number 1 team in the Discord tier with space created. Just what's it like being like, hey, we're coming into this off of a hot streak, 4-0 beating number 1 seeded second space created, who's been in Discord here and been in the playoffs in this position multiple times.
You gotta make sure that you do not let your mindset get ahead of you. You do not let the momentum kind of inflate your ego. Because a lot of teams, they see, oh, we won 4-1. Oh, we won 4-0 against the number 1 seeded team. We're the best team in this tier. No, that's not how it works. You still have to win the entire dang thing, and you have to make sure you don't let that foresight as thinking that you're going to win the entire thing before the match even starts, let that get ahead of you. Because I think if you do, it's kind of like reverse prophecy. I don't think that's how that's statements.
Yeah, reverse prophecy. That's when you want something to come true. It just doesn't.
The statement is escaping me.
Reverse psychology?
That might be it, but essentially...
There's a P word. You got there.
Close enough.
Because they want it so bad and they already think they have
reverse
it.
proctology. Let's go.
It will leave that.
It'll come to us in about 4 hours.
Yeah, I'm sure it will.
But yeah, going back to it, Dr. Tepper said, hey, we know how to lose. They didn't really lose all that much. They lost 1 map in Stage 1, had a 3-0 golden stage in Stage 2, obviously lost after their bye week coming back to Louisiana Lobsters, and then just sort of rolling through the bracket a bit. What's it like facing a team, hey, we're 1-1 with them right now. We got to make sure, hey, we don't get gapped. We got to make sure our mind's in it completely and make sure we throw that first punch and they don't punch back hard.
It's not just about, avoiding getting gapped. It's more about just being like, okay, we're 1-1. We have to assert our dominance here. We have to prove that we're the better team. We can't, this being like a rubber match, you can't just, let the other team, walk over
it is
you.
The championship.
Yeah. Well, I mean, of course. when it's a championship, of course that's going to be on the line, but like that's also on the line too. When you got your pride,
That
a
is
team
true.
that you're
That's
1-1 with, it's so much better. It's like, oh yeah, every time we face these guys in the main season, we stomped them, we crushed them, it wasn't even close. Like, you go in there riding a wave of confidence. This is like a wave of anger, where it's like, we beat them, they beat us, we have to pound them into the dust or we're going to look like chumps.
Yeah, and obviously we're talking about a little bit beforehand, the Doom buff.
Yes.
They play the Doom Fist. Gentle Giant is in the other room, excited playing it again. What do you think is going to be the take with Louisiana Lobsters to try to deal with that Doom Fist? Obviously, we talked about it a little bit beforehand, but if you're Dirt, hey, Doom got over nerfed a little bit uber buffed. I can't talk right now, but buff with the heal. What's it like saying, hey, now we just know our comp is going to be better? How do we implement that, especially with the other changes around it?
So I think if you're talking about how you play around it, it's just making sure that you have the ability to dive in with your Doomfist. You have the support that he needs, because with a Doomfist without support, it's just a useless tank at the end of the day. It's like Wrecking Ball. Doesn't really do a lot of damage, but he has the ability to displace a lot of people, create a lot of chaos, and a good team will react to that. When it comes to opposing this Doomfist, obviously your first thought goes to something like a Cassidy, just the ability to revert that movement that Doomfist has, the Ana nades as well to shut down any healing that he may receive, which also kind of goes hand in hand with that support that I talked about earlier. There's many ways that you can counter him, and my first thought does go to the Ana, who is just
I got something I wanna propose here, because this is something I've seen a little bit.
Yes, Caster, you're the Calling All Heroes caster. We gotta let you speak.
All right, let me go ahead and take front and center on this one here. So I've only seen it a little bit in scrims, and whispers of it, and I doubt these teams are gonna bust it out. But if they decide to, Winston also got a pretty sizable buff, and I've seen people bust out Winston to counter the Doomfist comp, because you mentioned how if he doesn't have line of sight on his supports, he's useless, right? Put a bubble on top of them, and then what? Then what happens? You can't just like they have got to go out of position to try and shoot through it to help the Doomfist. He'll fall. He'll just fall, or have to go back to try and peel for his supports before he's able to do much of anything. So like, there's something for you. If you guys are sitting in the lobby watching the stream, yeah, there's a Cassie pro tip for you there. Pick Winston.
Yeah, I know me and Hippy were talking about it beforehand, just like, hey, there's more nerfs in this rather than just the Doom changes. Obviously, the whole new hero got released, we can't play, unfortunately. But I was in the Discord chat. I was in the depths of Trank Discord, in the Discord chat, just talking about it to everybody. They were like, hey, basically the entire Discord is going for Louisiana Lobsters here. I want to get your guys' prediction before we head into map stuff. Louisiana Lobsters, a lot of people were saying that they could even 4-0 them, 4-1 them, just take it an absolute roll. What is your prediction for this game?
I kind of want to lean the side of Louisiana Lobsters too, because countering a Doomfist is a lot harder to actually do than you and I are making it out to be. And if they don't get that straight off the bat, I do think a 4-0 is possible. Maybe a 4-1, maybe they're able to take one of these maps that doesn't cater toward the Doomfist away from them. But if they do get off to a good start, Dirt Esports are able to use that Winton, able to use something like the Cassidy or the Ana. I think they very well may take the series. It could be a close one, but it's all going to be about shutting down that tank, as it usually is.
I'm going Dirt Esports 4-1.
Woo!
I know that's a little bit spicy, but I did like what I saw from them in the game. I was watching their last match on the stream, and I was really impressed with the way that they played the Doomfist composition. And I was also impressed seeing them just bust out the Roadhog to flex. When you're that good, when you can assert that much dominance, I think you're feeling yourself. You're coming in confident. I think they're ready, and I think they're willing, and I think they're able to take this one 4-1, because I know Louisiana Lobsters are that good. They're going to at least take a map. It's not going to be a sweep. It's not going to be clean either way.
Yeah, and both times as well, they did take a map off. The losing team did at least get one map. So throwing my hat in the ring here as the host, I have to go. I'm the deciding factor. Right now it's 1-1 for both teams, just like the regular season. I have to go with the underdog. I gotta go with Dirt Esports.
All right.
Doomfist. I said this before.
So you come stand over here with me, and we're gonna shun you. You go
all
stand
right.
over there.
I'm just gonna be half off screen.
Yeah, that's the Louisiana Lobsters corner. This is the winners corner, where we're gonna chill over here.
Yeah. But no, like I've said this before, Doomfist as a tank is like the Reinhardt. They can go in, just create space. It's very awkward. But this has happened before.
Two tanks that could not be more different.
Hey, well, this has happened. We've had a team that was a Reinhardt one-trick team. They picked Numbani, and they just play the Doomfist and won. So it could happen. It could happen. I know I'm going crazy, but of course, if you guys didn't know, obviously we're live. We're in person. We're not. There's not little boxes around everybody. We can touch each other.
I can touch her.
As you can see that, and they couldn't be more happy. More happening without the help and support of Drexel Esports.
Yes.
Which obviously, if you go to another scene here, we do have the production room live, surprisingly, and I don't know if it's working because it's very jank and everything like that, but because it's taped to a door handle, but. Hopefully it works. At some point.
If it works, which it's not.
If it works, which it's not, which we'll figure it out some point. But
the Drexel Esports way, as scuffed as possible, barely held together. We're held together with duct tape here. The whole program is, but without it, I wouldn't have gotten my start. So it's got a charm. We love it.
Yeah. So I'm gonna leave this all to you guys. You guys are gonna go do great. We're gonna see a beautiful shot of Philadelphia right now.
Ooh.
While I go back to my little corner that we're in right now.
All right, that's the winner's corner, by the way.
Okay, I understand.
LiteRose, you got another corner over there. That's where you're gonna chill.
I do get another corner. There's the big city that I moved to. What is it? It's 5
Philadelphia.
months?
Oh, 5. Oh, you're talking.
I was talking about when I moved here about 5 months ago, around in June, July. I have the ability to meet you. Have the ability to be here, which I mean is pretty cool. You and I have casted together for a while now, and now we get to cast in person.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. We finally get to do this in person, and hey, let's not even wait. Let's go ahead and kick it off as soon as we possibly can. We've got the first map ready to go here in just a second. We're gonna start things off on Samoa, one of the newer maps. Sorry, the newest map in the pool. A very interesting one where I've seen a lot of variations on the compositions that a lot of teams like to play. You look at the geometry of it, you kind of feel like maybe this favors the Doomfist a little bit, but I've seen rumblings, some teams kind of leaning towards Ramashra lately. I doubt we're going to see that here, but hey, you never know.
Yeah, I think that city center one with a giant pillar in the middle isn't going to be very kind.
I like that you call it City Center because everyone says it's exactly like Oasis City Center.
I mean, it's very similar. Funny enough, I'm going to kind of, make myself known. I don't actually know the exact names of the points.
I'm a fool. I'm a
fraud.
You want me to come clean about something? I looked them up like a couple days ago.
Yeah. So
I did my whole Calling All Heroes cast last weekend. Didn't know any of them. I was just like, I can't wait for the next point. The one you're thinking of is called Downtown.
That's a city. That is a city center. Downtown is a city center.
It's the center of a city.
Fraud.
And the other two are Beach and Volcano.
That's
it's
on the nose.
It's looking like Beach is the one we're going to start off with. Beach is the one with the crabs, so get your crab raves going in the chat.
I wouldn't be surprised if they actually had included a reference to Crab Rave, knowing the Overwatch devs. But you see the little crabs in the corner there? They just hopping along. We get to see the comps that are in play. There's that Doomfist that Gentle Giant loves so much. And Lobsters, they're hovering around that Sigma. But the supports may be the surprise if they stick to something like this Brig Baptiste. That would be a lovely counter to something like that Pharah, depending on what Pyoyan rings.
The Pharmacy pick, I think, is really, really interesting because word on the streets right now is that Brigitte feels absolutely awful to play, so circumventing that and just leaving the Ana to her own devices. If she dies, she dies, whatever it is. I'm just going to go ahead and help my Pharah do as much damage as possible. I kind of like that, especially with the Doomfist drawing so much aggro and taking so much of the enemy team's aggression. You can definitely get some serious value out of a Pharmacy composition, and that's going to put a lot of pressure on Andrew to scout that out and try and find a shot somewhere.
Oh, but you gotta keep everybody alive, and that Pharmacy is just gonna rain havoc. Kyo is able to grab one, and Baptiste, trying to get out, jumping away, is actually able to do it. And so for now, it is just keeping everybody barely alive, even at the breath of death. It's going to be Louisiana Lobsters getting so close to getting that point. They're not going to get it, but with that kill onto Gentle Giant, as long as they can keep that Pharmacy a little bit away from everybody, they should be able to get some percentage.
It looks like they've done at least enough. They're going to get the first cap, like you said, start building up the percentage, and there's the cleanup there. It comes down to the fact that Dabber falls first. I mean, in this kind of composition, if you're playing the Doomfist with the Tracer has to be constantly harassing the enemy supports to try and make it a little bit more easy for the Doomfist to get in, get out, get some damage, and, get that Pharah in position to get some of the follow-up damage. But without the Tracer there, the enemy Baptiste, the Lucio, they're sitting pretty. They don't got to worry about anything in the world. They're in their lane, they're flourishing, they're healing, and Vespa King can continue to pump out the damage, pump out the accretions, and just,
do his thing.
Yeah, do his thing. Yeah.
And I think with all the pressure going on to KDN, he's able to get away. He's got that far pocket. You just have to get those supports. Look how Sty is able to get away. I don't understand how he is still alive after all that is going toward him. I'm trying to keep a counter on my screen. Finally, he dies, but it's only at the cost of Nicc. The point is actually going to turn around, but even more members of Dirt Esports fall, and the Mercy attempting to res will go down as well. It should be Louisiana Lobsters flipping that point. Dirt Esports do have a lot to rely on. Unfortunately, so do the Lobsters.
I was going to say, like, yeah, you get out of that using only the Valkyrie, you kind of take that. But yeah, Louisiana Lobsters have not had to hit a Q button yet, so it's going to be pretty difficult for Dirt Esports to even find a way in here. It's realistically going to come down to whether or not KDN can find any value with this barrage. And so far, I mean, even just the regular rockets haven't found all that much value. This Pharah has been effectively zoned out and not really able to find much of anything. And you know, whatever she's able to, it's a Baptiste covered in baby oil that they just can't get. But Gentle Giant gonna go in and find that early pick.
It's still at the cost of your support. You're not able to get a clean 1-for-1. Now KDN going around. You clean up 2 players on the side of the Lobsters. The barrage is there, and they know it keeps you straight up. They're able to take down, and his Gentle Giant is actually gonna go up in the air, able to get healed as his pocket healer has fallen, and eventually the damage might not be there because he got nanoed. Cassie, but he is still a lone Doomfist on the point. He is gonna get burst down due to the massive amounts of damage coming through from Andrew. It's going to be the Lobsters to take point 1.
It's Nicc getting picked first there. Dying with the nano boost is pretty awful. Have a look at the coconuts everywhere. That's fun. That's enjoyable. I mean, Dirt Esports can take solace in the fact that there are coconuts.
It's a consolation prize.
Yeah, there's your consolation prize. You know, you can make yourself a nice pina colada. But, you know, maybe make a health potion or some sort of, like, concoction that you can use to keep your Ana alive. Because we were talking about, you know, there's no Brigitte there. There's nothing that can kind of help heal for the Ana, especially if, you know, someone find themselves on a flank, she's being threatened. When you got the pharmacy up in the sky, it's like she's just on her own. Dying with nano means that you come in late, give it onto Gentle Giant towards the tail end, but everyone else is already dead. There's no follow-up damage. The enemy team, they just pop that Ant Matrix, that overclock, put out a ton of damage through it, and you can't heal through all of that. You just cannot. Ana, like, she's just one woman with only one eye. She cannot do it.
And also, I'm just so impressed. Like, Baptiste has a jump, and yet somehow you're able to survive rockets, Doomfist, everything at you. Will that be the same? Because I think that is a big reason why Dirt Esports really weren't able to get anything done, is because the healer on the side of the Lobsters was able to get away. And there's no point of which Gentle Giant is able to get in. Immediately taken out. Nonfiction is not going to be able to get that res. They do find the Baptiste, but it still is at the cost of their opponent. They're never able to get anything done early.
I mean, right now, KDN's still getting some value, and the point hasn't been capped by Louisiana Lobsters just yet. As long as Pharah stays in contention of the point, keeps finding some value, keeps finding some of that splash damage, you still have a shot here finding, you know, the enemy May. It's not a bad start, but you've lost Gentle Giant again. Just isn't able to get any healing, and I mean, yeah, Louisiana Lobsters, they finally capped the point. KDN now overstaying his welcome.
Got that barrage, but the Baptiste still survives. The immortality field.
They're just walking. They're just walking on Nicc.
I mean, why not? You're able to essentially get these free picks. There's no Brigitte, not even the Mercy or the Pharah is able to keep that on alive. And funny enough, despite all this, Lobsters have only got 30%.
You know, you thank KDN for that, for keeping it in contention for so long. I mean,
there's something.
Yeah, and there's a barrage on the field as well now, so if they find any sort of value with that, Dirt Esports should have a way in, but they've got to do something to protect Nicc, because if they can't do so, Gentle Giant is going to keep falling, Nicc is just going to keep getting pressured out, and Louisiana Lobsters, they know they can get away with it. Taking down Nonfiction means, yeah, KDN's not even going to get to hit that barrage.
It's just a clean reset at this point. Will Dabber be able to get away, or is it going to be a very, very long reset? Yes, it is. Gentle Giant is there for the, I guess, late defense of Nicc. It's not where you need it. You need that on the point. And the fact that Nicc is not even at 60%.
I like the swaps that Dirt Esports are making here, though. Kiriko, so something a little bit more grounding, something that can at least give some healing to Nicc, and switching over to the Genji, which, you know, should, in theory, give Louisiana Lobsters a taste of their own medicine. Have somebody that can harass the enemy backline, make Vespa King sweat a little bit, maybe not get enough healing to sustain himself, and That should give Gentle Giant an opening, but again, you have to keep Slicky Nicc up and you have to keep Gentle Giant healed.
Actually pushing these supports all the way in the back, and yet nothing. The ult does go out, there's at least something, but it is last fight territory. Dirt Esports have to maybe get Dabber's ultimate online, but as Dabber is just running for their life, gonna be little old Andrew sticking around on the point, getting those last percentage, and Gentle Giant can't even touch. It's a 2-0 for the Lobsters, and it seems like Dirt Esports just did not have any ground to stand on.
I mean, I liked what Dirt Esports were cooking, but it damn sure wasn't Lobster they were cooking. It looked good on the menu when I was reading out the description there, you know, the pharmacy with the Doomfist comp. Yeah, you know, sounds good. I'll have a piece of that, but no, it comes out, it's just dirt on a plate is what it is. It just doesn't taste anywhere near as satisfying as advertised, and, you know, they just fail to execute on the plan. You know, their win condition, again, it has to be, you know, you follow up on the slam damage with some of that splash damage on the Pharah. You have to keep your Ana alive, though, and if, you know, Dirt Esports can't protect Slicky Nicc, then they can't protect Gentle Giant. If they can't protect Gentle Giant, they can't take any sort of space, and if they can't take any space, they can't play the game, which is why they barely got any percentage on the board this whole map.
I think you also have to give some credit to Vespiking here. The shields were very good in keeping KD back. The accretions you actually just saw there as Andrew cleaned it on up were there. I actually mentioned it in the pre-show. If you could keep those accretions, those shields all cycling, you can essentially neuter the Doomfist from the very beginning. Are there going to be any changes as we go into map 2? Because we saw how ineffective that Doomfist was. Is it going to be a map problem, or is there just a problem to begin with for Dirt Esports? As we kind of transition on over to that second map, I think I'll have my question answered.
I'm kind of hoping that it's just a map problem because I
do
predicted Dirt Esports, and I'm going to look foolish if they don't win this 4-1 or if they don't win this at all.
I want a good game.
Good game. I'm hoping that it is a map thing. I kind of want to see them bust out the Brigitte again. I know she's terrible to play right now, and everybody feels, you know, it just doesn't feel good to play Brigitte right now. But I feel like you do need something that can kind of babysit Slicky Nicc just a little bit, keep that Ana alive, or you're just not going to get to play the Doomfist comp. I'm sorry, but you cannot play Doomfist without adequate healing. It's just impossible. If the healers are being zoned out, if they're being pressured out, and there's nobody there to peel for them, game over, GG. We might as well pack it up and go home right now, but we're not going home just yet. We're only one map in. We're about to go over to the second. Not going home, but we are going to Midtown.
Is that better than Samoa?
No. No, it's not.
I mean, yeah, it was kind of a rhetorical question. There's
a
nothing.
Sigma map.
Yeah, there's nothing that enables the Doomfist here. You've got high ground, of which you can cover with Sigma, who can also have that close range coverage and that mid range damage that he can do with his nice little orbs that have been so effective for Vespiking. I don't think we're going to see a Doomfist swap. It's way too early to say, hey, things aren't working. Let's try something different. Maybe we will see that Genji switch and that Kiriko switch earlier. Not exactly those characters, but something along the lines of minor roles being swapped.
If that's the swap that they're going to go for, I think you definitely need to pull that out before it's like, you know, DEFCON 5. Like, it's either that or we just give up the whole point. Like, yeah, do that at the, like, you know, after the 1 minute mark, not at the, like, midnight hour where there's 3% left on the point. I think the key to victory here for Dirt Esports is on their attack, they have to snowball through that second point because that's where you're going to have the biggest advantage. Get the most, you know, the most time to try and push through that third point. They have to quick cap first, use the Doomfist mobility and the aggression to try and take that second point high ground, and just get the cart as far as you possibly can because this is a very, very Sigma favored map. That early choke point, great for the, you know, for the hyperspheres to be bouncing all over, find a bunch of damage, make it really, really hard for your supports to get into any good position. The second point, if the Sigma is able to just hold high ground up there, you're going to get hit with an accretion every time you go in. And the third point is just like another narrow choke point, right? Like, it's not Doomfist favored at all. You have to try and snowball it.
Yeah, there's nowhere to isolate anybody. It's always going to be covered by somebody. I mean, maybe if we see some mistakes, but you never want to hope that your opponent makes a mistake like that. You always want to hope that your own ability is what gets you across that finish line. I think as we finally get into that second map, we get into what hopefully you and I hope will be a good game because it's fun. Yeah. I really like casting in person, especially with Cassie. This is the first time I've had the ability to do it. It's why I was so eager to Cass with Drexel with this grand final. I liked it.
It's fun. Let's get some mileage out of this. Come on,
Yeah.
Dirty, do it for us so that we can hang out a little bit
Please.
more, because we're having a great time right now.
I don't know when I will get this again, if ever. So please.
Don't leave the game looking like this, okay? This is where we're at now. This is better. I like
It's
this.
on the ground.
5-second rule.
It has been way more than 5 seconds since Midtown has been in Overwatch 2.
It's a New York second.
I don't
which
live
is
in
like-
New York,
Which
so...
is like 7 seconds in dog years.
What are you doing? We are, like, translating times, like, 3 times.
I'm taking some creative liberties with time and space.
Clearly. But as we go on over to the actual comp and the game at hand,
Ilyari.
I was more going to mention the attack and how they don't have a Doomfist. They've got a Junker Queen, you and I's favorite Overwatch character, combined with that Kiriko Genji Reaper. It's a brawl-style comp, and I'm loving it.
I do love to see Mommy come out to play every now and then, and I think this
Mommy.
is going to play very well into the Sigma, especially if the accretion goes wide like it does right there. KDN already has access to the backline, and that's a huge axe.
That's beautiful to see, especially after the struggles that we saw in map 1, but they're able to swiftly execute, take out Andrew, and now if they could just corner off these healers, because you see Vespa King, he's still able to stay alive. Down goes Kyo. Yeah, it's just going to be taking out that last Sigma on point, and you love to see a win like that after nothing getting done in that first map.
I mean, and this is, really satisfying for me, not just because I get to see Junker Queen, but because I've also kind of theorized for a while that, running some kind of rush-centric comp like a Junker Queen or a Reinhardt or a Risa can also play really, really well into the Sigma, because once you get past his shield, I mean, they just have their way with you. There's not really a whole lot you can do. You rely on hitting the accretions. If it goes wide, what are you going to do? Especially when she's this deep into your backline, putting out all of this damage. KDN falls elsewhere, so the aggression might slow down just a little bit, but they're still making some card progress here.
I mean, just the fact that they're able to get this, Gentle Giant is still finding kills. And that is going to be one of your main supports. I mean, you still do have the Baptiste to rely on, but Gentle Giant is still going to rush at you with the Lucio, but they're actually going to regroup. I think that is smart. They have a great time bank to rely on because of those early fights, because they push back the Lobsters so well, and they're getting a lot of ults for it. They're going to have that beat 90%, 20 on Kyo.
I mean, they do have to fall back because they do see Vespa King going in to try and contest, but
get it.
Now Vespa King's got that Gravitic Flux, and it goes so huge. That's 2 kills, plus Andrew with a nice little assist there on some Non-Fiction, and that's going to be pretty much a dead push. Also a dead Lucio, because Gentle Giant isn't done, but, the rest of his team's done, so it's probably time to, take a nap, buddy.
Non-Fiction was 1% away.
What? Non-Fiction was 1% away, but has now used the sound barrier, solo sound barrier.
We're calling it even. We're calling it even here. Should have used it for the Vesper King ult. We're all at even. I don't think that's a smart play, because Dirty Esports now throw away an actual counter that they have to the Blizzard, to that Sojourn ult. They do have ults to rely on themselves. You got Slicky Nicc, Kitsune's Rush, you've got that Blade, and the Rampage, which could be huge, but you see Lobsters are playing really far back. The Blizzard is going to come out, Gentle Giant is going to fall. I think this fight is over before it even...
Yeah, if Louisiana Lobsters, they just take the initiative there with the Blizzard, and doesn't give Gentle Giant an opportunity to set up for that Rampage, or to get, an advantageous angle, or get everybody grouped up where you can hit yourself a really nice Dragon Blade there. Dirt Esports, they're going to have to keep playing into the traps that Louisiana Lobsters have set. That said, that trap right now is an Amp Matrix Overclock combo, which is going to be playing from range. If you're able to circumvent that somehow, which Dabber definitely was not, despite the Kitsune Rush. I mean, they popped the Kitsune Rush, they have to go in. They're going to pop the Dragon Blade as well.
They're slashing away, but Genji just doesn't have the rate of fire, and you trade out the Mei. So Gentle Giant is going to be able to get some space, but now there's that overclock. You can use the map as natural geometry, but Andrew's just going to leap on over. Can't aggress too much because he knows what's waiting on the other side. It is a very scary, muscled woman. He almost claimed one there onto Dabber, but get healed back up, and now Dabber's going to have that ult.
I kind of don't agree with that Kitsune Rush usage. I mean, I know they wanted to use it, but, if you're going to use it, you got to go where your Genji is going to be slashing. There's another Gravitic Flux coming out from Vespa King, and there is no sound barrier, no immortality field, not even a Suzu that's able to save Non-Fiction for that one.
And they're not able to get any momentum. I think that's the thing. We have saw resets, but Dirt Esports have just been never really able to cycle their ult well. Can't even claim the Mei there. You just rely on the Rampage, which has been sticking in Giant's pocket for well over 2 minutes, a minute 30 at this point.
And it's great positioning from Louisiana Lobsters. They got Vespi King and the gang playing very far forward on cart, and then the supports where they wanted to use that Kitsune rush way up on the high ground that can heal from afar. And I mean, Dirt Esports don't even have a chance to try and get up there to take it because they gotta go through the enemy Sigma, and they just haven't been able to.
You can tell they're really trying to get up top. Ult coming out from Dabber, ineffective to say the least. At least they do claim the Baptiste first, and the Blizzard is a perfect trade because Gentle Giant eventually is able to go down, but Dirt Esports, they finally get the momentum that they really want, and they're going to have that Sound Beer, Kitsune Rush, and just a little bit away from the Blade. They should be able to get it through this car wash, too.
That actually ends up being a really, really good Blizzard, by the way, even though it only kills Gentle Giant, who, by the way, is swapping over onto the Doomfist to mitigate what I'm specifically about to talk about, is, you know, you take down the enemy tanks so they can't really push as far forward, take as much space, so you can go back and take this high ground again, which it looks like they are going to do as the cart passes underneath it. Gentle Giant now on the Doomfist, playing the low ground, which is not necessarily where you want to be, especially when everybody's about to drop on top of you like this.
Getting so close to that percentage, but Doomfist is able to strike first. Down goes the Mei. The Sound Berry is there to provide so much coverage. Just a little Lucio, which eventually a couple of slashes will take down. You just have to make your way through this one little tank. We do have a pause, and we are going to see just a little bit of timeout in the action, and I think that does benefit Dirt Esports here. I mean, actually, no. So Louisiana Lobsters, they were the ones being taken aback. I swapped my size there for a little bit. I think you are in a little bit of a momentum swing, and if you get a little bit of a breather,
it's a momentum swing, but it's also an expensive one for Dirt Esports. I mean, you know, you guys can't.
They are going to cap. They are going to cap.
Maybe, because the cart's only just now, like, okay, we can see it, so we're going to argue about this while you guys have no evidence of it, but it's like, the cart
Sigma
was coming,
hasn't
like,
died yet. They're not going to have their Sigma.
But they can still go in and contest. They've got ults.
No, they don't.
Yeah, they're gonna have the overclock. They're gonna have the Ant Matrix.
Go sit in the winner's corner.
Okay, I'll sit in the winner's corner.
Go sit in the winner's corner.
I'll go sit in the winner's corner.
Dirt Esports, the team that you chose, which apparently is quote unquote the winner circle, they lost map 1. So I've got the lead here.
In a best of 7 series. Get out of here.
I'll take my wins where I can. Thank you very much. As we go through the replays, we saw that very good push from Dirt Esports very early on. A lot of time passes. KDN is really trying to get something done with this Blade, but Genji without a nano is hell. King.
You at least hope for the Kitsune Rush to try and help with that, but again, like that was used way over on the low ground just to get around the corner where you would have liked to have it on that high ground where you can play aggressive, take all that space, have the Junker Queen pump out a bunch of damage, get some actual value, you know, with the sped up rate of fire on those slashes there off the Dragon Blade. That would have been pretty high value, but unfortunately, you know, there was that kind of like, you know, discordance between the two ultimate abilities there. And to get around this first corner, Dirt Esports have had to use nearly every ult ability. They got to full stack the cart. There should still be a contest for Louisiana Lobsters. KDN playing a little bit far forward to try and make sure that doesn't happen.
I win.
The cap does come through. Looks like, yeah, just the fear of that Genji was enough to stave off what could have been a contest.
It's 2 wins for LiteRose. Keep it in the books. We're keeping track all night here. As we do have the push coming through from Dirt Esports. Dabber gets very, very low. He's able to get away. Gentle Giant, we have to keep track of what they're able to get early on, how close they get to death, because Louisiana Lobsters have done such a good job previously of shutting that down. And still, Thick Sty remains evasive, and now Vespa King, dedicating that ult, is not able to get one, but eventually Andrew can clean it up.
Every time Vespa King has a Gravitic Flux, that's a fight win because there's nothing on Dirt Esports that can counter it. The only realistic way that they can counter it is by punching the Sigma out of it to try and get the stun. That's it. Otherwise, the Suzu has to be perfect, but even that's not going to be enough because that's only just that 1 second immortality. And, like, it's just not enough. You kind of have to have the sound barrier on non-fiction there, but it's been so out of sync, you know, 50% to it, trying to build to the next one. You gotta imagine when they get it, Dirt Esports want to use it aggressively, but they might not even get a chance to go aggressive right now with this Ant Matrix on high. They don't even want to peek this one.
Yeah, you could tell that Dabber was definitely going to ult. Dedication,
It sure is.
he tried it, and both May and Sigma have counters to those. But while those two were in a corner, it was a 4v3 off screen, and you see Dirt Esports, they take advantage of that, and it is going to be a little bit of time wasted off the clock, but the cart is going to get pushed forward. Eventually, kill the Sigma, okay, kill the Lucio, and now the cart will push forward.
While everybody was looking at that death blossom coming out from Dabber, that was Gentle Giant and Nonfiction doing exactly what they're doing
actual play.
right
That was
now.
the play.
Going in super aggressive into the enemy backline. There's only 10 seconds though, so they have to try and keep that aggression up. But they're actually going back to the cart to try and stack it. I don't know if I agree with this. You want to try and hold space, especially with that Blizzard coming out on the other side. You don't want to give Pyojin an opportunity to use this. Already lurking, and there it goes, right onto the backline. Forces out both support ults.
And you actually don't catch anybody in it, but you do draw out the sound barrier. But because of that, it's not enough to save Bokio. And Andrew the Blade is going to come out, and it is going to slash away at the Sigma. May, seconds away from death, will fall, but I think there's enough time for Lobsters to actually get the recontest. Andrew's going to go on to Tracer. Are there going to be any other swaps? I wouldn't expect it because Gio has that sound barrier, but it's just going to be a trickle-in from Lobsters.
Andrew gets scouted out.
He got punched! He got punched away, and Dirt Esports can fully cap with no time remaining.
That was that was pretty great. It comes down to the fact that they were able to scout out Andrew there. Andrew wasn't able to go in, get the contest there. Great play from Nonfiction there. You gotta also look at the fact that Kyo was getting close to that sound barrier. That would have been a lot to try and chunk through for Dirt Esports. Might have given Louisiana Lobsters a way back in, but regardless, Dirt Esports, they full capped, and at times that didn't look guaranteed, especially after that long stall out early point B. You will take that every day of the week. Obviously, you're gonna try and hope for a staunch defense here, not let Louisiana Lobsters get their way in. But hey, you know what? You take it. You take what you can get.
I think that's exactly what you want for Dirt Esports, especially considering the first map wasn't abysmal, but it definitely wasn't what you're looking for in terms of a first point. And the fact that you're able to actually get things done as the Doomfist is pretty impressive, considering I think the only difference on the Lobsters when it came to the first point, did they have any differences between that first map? Comp difference?
Yeah, they were not playing the pharmacy.
No, Lobsters.
Oh,
like when it came to
they started off on the Ilyari, but then they ended up swapping off over onto the Lucio so they could play something a little bit more akin
so
to
I think it's really more about how Dirt Esports played, especially around that Kurika Reaper Genji, when they didn't have to crutch as hard with the pharmacy.
Curious to see how this Doomfist defense goes, especially with the Soldier 76. You gotta imagine they're gonna be playing a lot of different angles, hopefully very far back. And you can even see the silhouette way back on the high ground is where Dabber is currently playing. And that should be in a great position to catch out this rotation as they try and go all the way around the alleyway, which, by the way, great rotation coming out from Louisiana Lobsters. They understand how to play this comp. They understand how to get it through that choke. Big day from Nicc, though, is the follow-up there.
Ooh. You could tell they wanted to split Dirt Esports. It was going well, but now they fully moved as a unit onto the point. Great punch from Gentle Giant. Is he able to stay alive? Are they able to actually claim anybody? Because you can see the health bars so low, and eventually they will strike. A good first defense coming out from Dirt Esports, and I think the Doomfist was the difference maker there.
I'm gonna go ahead and throw you a curveball. I think it's actually Nicc that's the difference maker there,
It's
because
true, the
actually
ante-
allowed to play the game this time, unlike on Samoa. Hits that big opening nade, was able to hit a defensive nade to keep Gentle Giant alive, and yeah, keep the point in contention. And that's because Louisiana Lobsters, they went for that rotation to try and play point rather than try to pressure out the enemy supports, which is what we're talking about. As long as the Doomfist has supports, he will almost never die unless you focus him with every cooldown under the sun, and even that's not a guarantee. And with him getting ever closer to that Meteor Strike, should be getting it somewhere in the middle of this fight. That's a beautiful nade.
Oh
Good
my
lord, that's
goodness.
a 4-man nade from Nicc.
I mean, that claims Andrew. Hyoyeon is still alive, but Lucio's gonna fall. And I mean, give Nicc the keyboard. Allow him to actually play the game, and they're gonna be able to actually do things. Oh no, it's elderly abuse.
There's not a whole lot the Vespican can do here. Great accretion. Great. What a great play.
Look, the old man is in a corner. He's scared. Stop being mean to him.
Well, all right, but anyway, we'll look where Slicky Nicc is playing right now, and Louisiana Lobsters, they keep going for that rotation where Slicky Nicc just has the perfect angle to keep hitting those nades over and over again, and something from the Lobsters has to change. They can't keep going for that same rotation. They have to try and either force Slicky Nicc out or go straight to point. It looks like they're gonna do the former.
Oh, this is such a risk. Trying to take that on Ana. You do that.
Hit her.
But look at what you dedicate. KDN, he's trying to stay alive because a couple of other players have fallen, meaning that he could be the difference maker. Dabber and Andrew claim that Sojourn, and so the Baptiste is going to fall, and it seems like Dirt Esports, they might be able to hang on. It's a 3v2. And now, with that ult dedication, it is over for the Lobsters, and they have struggled to get anything done. They're going to have to rely on all these ults that they built up.
Yeah, speaking of ults, I kind of wish that Dabber had held on to that attack visor. I think they wanted to go for both the Kitsune Rush and the visor, but I don't think both were necessary because it was just Vespiking on the point at that point in time. And yeah, now Louisiana Lobsters, they have nearly a full house, 5 ults. What are you going to do with that, especially with, now they know where Slicky Nicc likes to play, and you got to believe they want him dead. They're going to go in with a nano early, though. There's the Flux onto Slicky Nicc, just like I said.
Gentle Giant can't actually find anything because Keo used that, but KDN and Dabber are able to get one. You get a tick, but that does not matter here because we are getting into last fight territory, especially the longer this lasts, and because Sigma and Lucio are still alive. That is brutal. The Sigma respawning with 7 seconds left on the point, combined with the ult that Gentle Giant has. This might be curtains.
Yeah, this looks like a Dirt Esports dub. You saw Thixty switch over to the Moira just to try and get a touch. I don't know if they're going to be able to get such a touch. It looks like it might just be it. Only 1 second. They are able to get the Tracer onto the point, but not much else. Nonfiction with a nice headshot there, and the Sleep Dart onto the Overclock.
We're just kind of waiting out the inevitable here without really any damage or healing to keep the Lobsters in this. Yeah, there's the Blade. What a turnaround for Dirt Esports. I think we've gone from a couple of one-sided maps, but the fact that it's 1-1 makes it just so much more engaging on our end.
And, you know, it's feeling pretty nice over here in the winner's corner, especially, you know, when I'm calling
it's
it about
2-1. LiteRose still wins.
Look,
still
Dirt
winning.
Esports won the map, so we're calling it 1-1. You know, we're going by their score. We're not using your imaginary LiteRose points here. We're using the map score here, and you know, it's like I said, as long as you're able to keep the Ana alive, as long as you keep the backline alive, Doomfist should, in theory, never die. And I think the Louisiana Lobsters realized that, but it was after 2 takes trying to go for those rotations through the alleyway, where you're just setting Slicky Nicc up to hit those big nades, the follow-up from Gentle Giant to come through, and then you just can't kill him because he's got all the support he could ever want. A great defense for Louisiana Lobsters, but an even better one for Dirt Esports.
You can kind of see the failed pushes from Dirt Esports. Here's the thing, we were talking about all this. Technically, this didn't even matter. They won from the moment they capped the pointer. We have that in hindsight, but now that we know how effective their defense was with Slicky Nicc hitting those nades, with Gentle Giant actually getting that support and actually finding really key seismic slams and really great punches. I loved this right here. Just look how much damage that did, and combined with everything else. I know you are what we in the business call a certified Doomfist hater. I actually don't think that
carrying.
I don't think that represents it enough. Cassie doesn't like Doomfist, but Doomfist is kind of fun to watch. When you get to see good Doomfist in action, when you get to see how effective he is, when you're not on the end of it.
He sucks to play against, but
good to see.
I firmly believe, though, that the Doomfist dive composition, at least right now in the current state of Overwatch, is the best composition. I feel like it is the way forward if it's played well, especially into a Sigma composition. And playing it well, step 1 is keep your Ana alive. If you can't do that, then it all falls apart. We saw that on Samoa, but then we see the inverse on Midtown. You keep your Ana alive, she hits big nades, she keeps the Doomfist alive, and yeah, suddenly the Doomfist really, really sucks to play against because he never dies, has that Meteor Strike ult that he can get out of jail for free, and heal even more, even without the Ana's help. And, you know, he's punching you all over the place, hitting big damage. That power-up punch has the, you know, it has the hitbox of a Mack truck. It's insane, but it works. In my opinion, the strongest composition. And if their esports are able to keep it up, if they're able to keep playing to their strengths, keep their Ana alive, keep playing with that aggression, taking the initiative with the Doomfist dives, the big slams, the follow-up, I think they can take this.
What's funny is we said that the map was not a Doomfist map. We said it was a Sigma map. We kind of got shown how that's not exactly true. So when we look at the map of the upcoming one that we are going to see, New Junk City, can't really judge it on whether or not it is a Doomfist map or a Sigma map.
Oh, this isn't a Doomfist map. This is a Sigma map, which means Dirt Esports are going to win this one.
You should stop.
My job. I cannot stop. I also have brain worms. I couldn't stop talking even if I wanted to. New Junk City is, I think, an interesting one. Servasa probably would have favored the Doomfist a little bit more, to be completely honest with you. Yeah. So I like that Louisiana Lobsters have made this choice to take it to New Junk City. This is where something a little bit more brawly will come into play, I think, for most of it.
Yeah, I want to see if there are actually going to be any changes from the side of Lobsters, because I mean, they got shown up. And maybe you bring out that Ana that I talked about, could be that change. I don't think we'll see the Cassidy, because Cassidy is in a weird spot, and his ult being absolutely destructive. I mean, with the comp swaps is going to be the real difference, not like player swaps, because I think all the players are really effective at this point. Everybody does have their pros and their cons. It's going to be just about how you utilize those pros and cons.
I don't expect there to be any compositional swaps. I think, you know, if you're Louisiana Lobsters, you probably felt like this close on breaking through, because you identified the Ana, you started, you know, hard focusing her, going in, using the Gravitic Flux on specifically her, and as long as you're able to do that, you might be just fine, because that's what worked for them on Samoa. That's what kind of worked for them. I do kind of like the starting look we're seeing from Dirt Esports, though. We're going with their more offensive look from Midtown, seeing the return of the Queen.
It did work out on Midtown.
And she gets a home field advantage. It's New Junk City.
She does,
she
but
lives here.
I feel like part of that, oh yes, Kyo hitting it down. Disappointing we don't have that on like Baptiste, but it worked for Dirt Esports, I think, because of the surprise factor a little bit.
Surprise, there's also a Junk Rat.
That is true. Could say that about the Bastion as well.
I don't like that surprise. I keep the gift receipt on that one. I don't want that one.
There's no Doomfist, you get a Bastion. You gotta take the good with the bad. Or they definitely see that Junkrat. KDN is actually a little bit away, but they're gonna be able to synergize. How are they gonna use that brawl? Andrew flies up into the air, but is able to come back down. Nice and safe. Are we playing Ring Around the Rosie?
We're just playing Ring Around the Rosie. We just have both Lucios on perma speed, and everybody's just going around looking for... I mean, KDN's hit a couple mines. There's a nice May wall, though, but Espa King steps around it. I don't know about that one. That's going to force the Immortality field early.
Yeah, and still no coverage on the point. We're still just going all around. Nonfiction is down, and Andrew is able to find one. This should be the Lobsters cleaning on up. How effectively are Dirt Esports going to die? You take Andrew away, so you're not going to be able to get that ultimate. You're not going to be able to have damage. Julian has to dedicate that ice block, and for a second, I thought there was maybe a chance that Dirt Esports could come back, but there's those two, and we're going to have that fight reset.
It all kind of falls apart for Dirt Esports once KDN is down, because once you have that Junkrat no longer on the field, you don't really feel so afraid to actually take the low ground and try and contest the point there. So Louisiana Lobsters, they can go down, get that early cap. They don't have to worry about all the spam damage. They're actually going to force the swap from KDN. I think that's in response to Andrew on the Bastion there. I think, you know, we're going back to old-fashioned, like, day one Overwatch 1, where it's like, yeah, Genji counters Bastion, gotta deflect. Gonna be a huge Gravitic Flux that comes out from Vespa King, and the follow-up is there. 75% and counting for Louisiana Lobsters. Dirt Esports, they're realistically only gonna get maybe one more crack at this point, but that's, you know, only if they're able to get a touch. It looks like everybody's already posturing to try and go for the second point here. This might just be in favor of the Lobsters. KDN gonna invest the dash to try and go in. We're triggering OT here. Nonfiction gonna join the fray, but the rest of the squad ain't quite here yet. They're about to show up, taking the low ground approach. We've got Gentle Giant, who's gonna take down Andrew. Nonfiction hits a huge sound barrier. Keo is gonna follow in response. Are they gonna be able to get much more? No, once the overhealth is gone, KDN pops the Dragon Blade, and that's massive.
All right, now we have the engagement that just KDN needs to hit that. You're able to get it. And now it's just that one little Mei in the corner, and 99% able to swap it. And you've got what is considered a very good ult, if used correctly. It's going to be that Rampage. There's nothing to offset it. No Suzu, no D-drop that Keo has. In fact, Louisiana Lobsters don't have many ults to actually rely on. So if Dirt Esports play their cards correctly, they have 3 coming up.
It should just be a fight win for Dirt Esports. Like, honestly, if they just invest the Rampage and then you have KDN and maybe Slicky Nicc try to force down the Immortality field, like, that's realistically all that this should take, because Louisiana Lobsters, the coffers are dry. They've got nothing right now. Here comes the Rampage. Ooh. Great accretion!
Oh no, but because you use that accretion, you don't have anything to stun Dabber! It's like a bait and switch. You do dedicate the Rampage, but now you've got that Kitsune to counter it. I don't know if that was intended. I feel like it wasn't, but it's really cool to think it was.
It was, it was a great accretion, but yeah, but you still do have Dabber, the old dodgeball, lob, and drill technique. I mean, and look how aggressive Dirt Esports are going to play this. They're going to use the Kitsune Rush just to not even let Louisiana Lobsters get in, and with that pickoff onto Keo, it's over.
Beautiful play. The Blizzard is actually thrown out, and while all this is happening, because Dirt Esports went forward, it doesn't matter if you kill Gentle Giant, you're not going to be able to, because Junker Queen is a very thick woman to deal with.
Love that for her.
I agree. This isn't being sanctioned by Blizzard, so you can speak your mind a little bit more. Calling All Heroes will not censor you.
I think the biggest thing towards the tail end of that fight, if I could pivot really quickly away from that dangerous
we gotta get away from this topic,
they were able
please.
to take down Vespa King towards the end there, who was holding onto the Gravitic Flux. That's the, that's the tankier ability to take space and your only ultimate that you have currently on the field. You're building up to the Ant Matrix. Ooh. You take down Slicky Nicc though, so you might actually be willing to invest that now that you have Vespa King back.
Ooh, you actually dedicate the ult from Nonfiction. It ends up not getting anything. And now it's just clean up duty. Louisiana Lobsters, they might not have had a lot of ults on the previous one. You cannot say that about them now. Keo is going to have that sound barrier. You're going to have Andrew and Thick Stee both sound very, very cool. They're going to have their ults as well.
If you're Slicky Nicc, you just got to play a little bit more safe. I mean, going down that early, it's kind of a throw there for Dirt Esports because they had the early point positioning, they had the ults that they could have used, and Louisiana Lobsters, they only had the one, but yeah, they go in, they use it. KDN gonna try and go early with the Dragon Blade, but they've already lost Nonfiction.
Now you can't even claim the Mei because she's just got the ability to come invulnerable. So essentially, you just dedicated an ult for nothing. I mean, granted, the Ant Matrix did come out, but
when it gets space.
That's the thing. They get forced back. Point is still going to go down. And especially the trade when it comes to Blade versus Ant Matrix, Lobsters are going to have Blizzard. They're going to have Overclock. They've got everything they need to win this.
I mean, I'm looking at Gentle Giant to maybe try and build up to a Rampage here, but they've already lost Dabber. The Rampage comes out, hits 2. That's going to force both the Sound Barrier and the Immortality Field. Is that going to be enough? Doesn't look like it's going to be. Gentle Giant's going to get bursted down.
Even can't claim 2 health Sojourn. We're going to go 1 for 1. It seems like this map is really going to be one that just goes back and forth, 2-2, all out brawl for that final point, especially because there's no changes on both sides. So it really is just going to come down to ult usage and just the composition of the actual point itself.
I mean, it looks like both teams are actually going to get to the next point about the same time. You have a little bit of a late spawn for Nonfiction, so yeah, just barely Louisiana Lobsters should get an advantageous position here on the point, which means Dirt Esports, they're going to have to try and find a way to break through, and you really wish that you had that Rampage from the last fight if you're going to try and break through a choke point like this. They don't have much of anything save for that Kitsune Rush, kinda, almost. They break through the Mei wall, they have to try and build either this Rush or get a huge Death Blossom.
They can't play too far away because Pyongyang has that Blizzard and also has that wall. The separation is there. So even if you somehow take away that Mei, you can't bring back your Lucio. You can't bring back your Junker Queen. The point is going to go over to the Lobsters, and they're going to be able to clean up, still just rack those ults online.
That's kind of the problem with having to play slow. When you don't have any ults and you have to build up to them, that just gives Louisiana Lobsters an opening to just walk in with that Blizzard, with that Mei, wall split everybody off, find the picks they need. And yeah, you know, you have the ults that you needed on the side of Dirty Esports, but you wish you had them last fight. Now what do you do with them? You're still going to probably want to use that Kitsune Rush just to try and break through, maybe bait some aggro and go in with a Death Blossom in the backline where they're not looking, but you still got that Gravitic Flux to worry about. Is Nonfiction's sound barrier going to be there?
Ooh, I think trying to bait out that sound barrier, Nonfiction is just a little bit more patient. Here's going to come out that Death Blossom, and it actually makes the Amplification Matrix essentially useless. And now, with those combination of ults, yeah, you use 3, but you turn down the point, and I think you stop the momentum of the Lobsters.
I think you want to keep that momentum in your favor. Now, if you're Dirty Esports, you have a Dragon Blade, let it rip. As soon as you see the whites of Louisiana Lobsters' eyes, you go for that one. Because yeah, they don't really have all that much defensive either. You want to make sure you get in there before that sound barrier for Keo is coming up. Get in there before that window slams shut in your face. Try and mash this 81%, take this point, and take the lead in the map.
Cadian's Blades haven't been super effective with this, especially with this Immortality seal.
So
and it actually does lock down. Lucio is still alive despite the chase happening. You are going to be able to get that in off screen. It's going to be Dirt Esports fighting themselves in what you could consider victory lane. I think we will have one more fight before this round goes down. Not if Vespa King is still alive.
This is such good stagger. This is such good stagger for Dirt Esports. They're going to get up to 75%. That might just be the point. Louisiana Lobsters have to either go without Vespa King entirely or just forfeit this and try and play for the next one. It's at 90%. Dirt Esports, if they want to go in with a Rampage right now just to seal the deal, they can. KDN with an early pickoff. The sound barrier is once again down.
Blizzard.
And Louisiana Lobsters don't even get the touch.
They use the Blizzard. Oh, that kills them because Lobsters don't have a point to give. They lose this, they are done. And something we've actually seen from Dirt Esports is that when they get off their rhythm when it comes to ult, they find a long time until they actually get back on it. I think they have gotten back on that tick-tock that you really do want when it comes to battling your opponent. But losing that Blizzard for Lobsters does offset. So they're going to need a good, clean fight, and you're not able to stop that sound barrier, and you actually lose this for Dirt Esports. Look at all the members so low. Nicc down to get a lot less healing, but there is actually an ult dedicated by Vespa King that is needed, and still Dirt Esports find themselves in it. The fight continues to go on. Andrew falls. Can the Mei go down as well? Somehow, Dirt Esports might find themselves on top despite everything that the Lobsters have thrown at them.
I mean, Dirt Esports, I didn't even see where it went, but the sound barrier did get invested, though. They finally burst down Gentle Giant and Nonfiction to Louisiana Lobsters. They haven't capped the point yet because there's still a little bit of a couple of rodents just hanging out, ratting on the point to try and keep it from going in favor of the Lobsters. They do finally get them, force the teleport out from Nicc. But yeah, it's that sound barrier from Nonfiction that had to be what it was to keep Gentle Giant alive that long. That said, though, I mean, Dirt Esports don't get anything for it. They don't get any percentage. They do force out a lot of ults, though, and they have a lot in their bank, so they should have a way in. Kitsune Rush to try and go early. Only an Ant Matrix to respond if Nicc is able to stay alive.
They lost the battle, but can they win the war? Look at Dapper. He wants to rescue so much, but knowing that his team has won this fight, you don't have to. And it might be, is it a dry push? Kitsune Rush.
Just a Kitsune Rush. You take that.
That's huge. It's huge.
7 days out of 7. You win with just a Kitsune Rush. You absolutely take that. You get to hold on to the Death Blossom. You still get to hold on to that Dragon Blade. There's still only the Ant Matrix on the other side. You will have to worry about that Blizzard coming online eventually, but there's still a window where you can go aggressive and act fast with the benefit of the speed boost from Nonfiction. So which way do Louisiana Lobsters want to go, and are Dirt Esports going to try and take the initiative? It looks like they're trying to bait them in for the Dragon Blade. Here we go.
They're going to use the literal window of opportunity that they have. It's not going to be too much just to push KDN back, and they don't have to rely just on the Dragon. Stabber has that ultimate with almost nothing to counter it. You have to try to get that small window, but Gentle Giant is able to get out due to the Suzu. You cannot say the same of Dabber. And the barrier is just a little bit too late, but Vesca King falls, and that essentially makes the barrier amazing because it keeps those players alive. It's gonna be Dirt Esports waiting for that ice block to go down. Dedicate all your ults, it doesn't matter. You have 1.3, and now they go up 2-1 in what seems to be a very exciting and back and forth game.
You can't chat, you can't see it because we haven't gone to cams yet. Eventually we will, but I have the smuggest grin. Right now, it's feeling pretty good in the winner's corner. Dirt Esports going up 2-1. And I mean, you know, we go back to that gravitic flux that came out from Vespa King there. It was desperation. We're getting up to 90+% where it's either you win this fight or you lose the whole point. You lose the whole map. He goes for it, and he goes for it with like 10 HP left. That just gets burnt down, and there's nothing much that you can do there. That's exactly how Dirt Esports need to play it. They have to try and utilize the space that they have, go aggressive, make the early plays, use their ult advantage, and force mistakes. And Louisiana Lobsters, yeah, a couple of mistakes were made there. Some errant ults, some errant positioning. Granted, you know, it wasn't clean from Dirt Esports. I think there's still some things that the Lobsters can cling to.
I mean, I kind of want to ask you a question. So we saw in the first couple of maps, Vespa King had really, really good gravitic fluxes. And in this map, they just felt a little off. Do you think that with the Brawly type comp, with the Lucio, the Junker Queen, the Genji just being a extremely sporadic style comp, do you think that had a hand in maybe making that less effective?
I would definitely say so, because like I was saying, I theorize that rush-style compositions can definitely make a Sigma feel very, very uncomfortable in a very similar way to the Doomfist. You just get up in his face, you say, you know, I don't care. I don't care that you have a shield. I'm just going to walk right through it, swing my big axe. Just, you know, it's so hard to even feel like you have space to try and even hit that Q key, get any sort of value at all. You know, you're constantly under pressure. You're constantly sweating. It's so hard. And props to Vespa King for being able to find big accretions to shut down the Rampage like that. That was a great one. But again, it's like, you do that, but now there's a Reaper in your face. Death Blossom. And you can only do so much with the grasp there. You can only absorb so much damage, so much punishment. And it doesn't help your team all that much.
I'm just a fan of the adaptation. I like the fact that they actually haven't put themselves on Doomfist the entire time, going onto the Reaper, going onto the Junker Queen. It provides a lot more interesting gameplay, and especially countering that Sigma. I mean, you and I have gone back and forth in the previous map, in the post-show, about how it counters it. And so far, I mean, I think that's the best way to actually show...
Post-show? We're already going to talk about that?
Post-map.
Post-map? Okay.
Yeah.
We are adults here.
Yes, as you can see, but we are gonna head to a quick break. We got halftime, and I think that's a good time as ever for both these teams to get a little bit of drink, because we have a very, very exciting second half waiting for us after this break. See ya.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Drexel University here in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. I almost flipped it again. I keep wanting to say Pennsylvania,
You got it
Philadelphia.
this time.
Current location known. Let's go.
Current location known, surprisingly, very surprisingly. 2-1 for Dirt. I was standing in the winner's corner that you guys kept on mentioning.
It feels good over here.
It does feel very good. Lobsters, the first map, looked dominant. 2-0 on Samoa. LiteRose, what do you think the changes are? Obviously, you talked about it a little bit with the Sigma style. What do you think Dirt has done to adapt against that Sigma style to just be like, hey, we're going faster than you now?
It's got to be Slicky Nicc. We saw Slicky Nicc on Midtown hitting those great nades. You go on to map 3. The Suzu is there. Just the support behind the Doomfist. I mean, I talked about it in the pre-show. The ability to actually make sure that Gentle Giant could get things done is pretty big, and we saw the effectiveness on map 3 especially.
Yeah, and you mentioned it during Midtown, just the nades. Obviously, being an Ana player myself, that's always the one thing that you always want to look for, is you get those big nades, make sure everybody can climb up onto it, and that's exactly what Gentle Giant has been able to do, and the rest of the team. One thing I was noticing, especially on New Junk City, KDN, we're not really saying his name all that much. He's a decoy for the Dirt squad, in my opinion. You see his blade, comes in, doesn't do really much, maybe he gets a kill here or there, but forces out the amplification matrix, forces out all these different sort of aspects for Louisiana Lobsters, and then Dirt ends up winning it because of it.
Yeah, so it's a very much so a compositional thing, right? Like, that's why I really like the Junker Queen look that they're going with the Reaper and the Genji, because Reaper's Death Blossom is a phenomenal ultimate ability when there are no cooldowns left on the enemy team that can potentially counter it. So you go in with the beat. Oh no, we gotta use Immortality Field. Oh no, or sorry, you go in with the Blade. Oh no, we gotta use Immortality Field. Oh no, we gotta use our Sound Barrier. And then suddenly it's like, well, now we have just nothing to deal with this spinny guy.
Yeah, and exactly like you said, just the Queen comp, how fast it is. Obviously, with the Doom comp, you want to go fast, you want to try to punch it all the time. But the Queen comp, just the Lucio speed, and then you have the Junker Queen shout, and just being able to go faster and faster and faster, it's tearing apart this Louisiana Lobsters core.
It definitely is. You're going to have to react to that once you go on into map 4, map 5, and beyond. Because it wouldn't surprise me if they continue to bring that Junker Queen, given its effectiveness. I mean, they were able to really take map 3 away from them. And granted, map 2, you still brought that Doomfist. It was very effective considering that they weren't even able to cap the first point. But we're going on to different maps. We're going on to something like Push, where you're going to have a very back and forth style gameplay. It's not going to be something like, hey, we're the defense, let's play defense.
Yeah. Sorry to interrupt, but I think, by the way, it's going to come down a lot to Andrew on that Sojourn, because the best way that you can counter an aggressive composition like a Doomfist or like a Junker Queen is you just don't let them get close. And if you hit him with a big rail shot, find a headshot. We've seen Andrew able to do that a couple of times, but it kind of has to be, the team playing around, enabling Andrew to try and find those angles and find those big shots, because if you just let Dirt Esports get in your face, they kill you. They just kill you.
Yeah, and Andrew is popping off on New Junk City. There's multiple times where he was getting 5 kills, 4 kills, 3 kills a fight, and just turning the team fight around. But then Dirt would come back, and just immediately, as soon as they would get that point flip, Lobsters had no response to it at all. They only won 1 point out of the 4, and all 4, they kept first. And they got to at least like 60, 70, 80%, and then Dirt just came back, hey, we're just going to spam ultimates, and then go aggressive after that point got capped.
In my opinion, too, by the way, the 1 point that Louisiana Lobsters won, Dirt Esports kind of fumbled that one. Like, that was very much so one that they could have won, because they even had the early stagger on Devespa King. There's no business for Louisiana Lobsters to be able to capture that one. I think that was more of Dirt Esports making a mistake rather than Louisiana Lobsters actually playing well. Granted, yeah, they punished it. They were able to capitalize on it, but, once Dirt got back on their game and didn't fumble the bag again, like you said, Louisiana Lobsters, they just had no answer.
Yeah, and then now, if you're Louisiana Lobsters, obviously Dirt up 2-0, 2-1, we know what their style is. They like to go fast and even go faster. If you're Louisiana, how do you combat that? We saw it with the Bastion a little bit, which, in my opinion, Bastion, you just go for damage, Sojourn, you go for picks. How do you then try to stop Dirt in their aggressiveness and how aggressive they are?
Throw in an Ana. She's pretty good. I mean, we saw her effectiveness, especially with Slicky Nicc. I mean, it's not like we mentioned the nades or anything. You stop a Doomfist from healing, that's pretty big. You sleep a Doomfist, he suddenly can't move anymore. That's pretty big. Maybe instead of something like that Baptiste, where the Immortality field is very good, throw in an Ana. Make sure that your Lucio can get the healing and the support that he needs to get those sound barriers, because that is going to be pretty pivotal. But I just need to see something that can really stop this Doomfist where he's standing.
Yeah, and you also mentioned the beat drops from both of these Lucios. Nonfiction has been whiffing a few of them, and they're still up 2-1.
Yeah.
There is still time, LiteRose, to switch over to the winning side. Do you want to do that? I'm throwing my hand out there.
No.
Ready to swap? Okay.
I am stubborn.
You're stubborn. We're sticking with Louisiana. Before we go, I'm going to send it right back to you guys. I think Louisiana, I think this next map is going to be the massive one because it is push. Obviously, you guys, we see the map preview. I'll let you guys talk about it beforehand before we go into it. But this is going to be a tough map. I think this is the turning point for Louisiana Lobsters. If they win this map, I think they could win it. But they just got to be aggressive and just keep on going to the style that they were.
It's going to take a very gritty, very beat-up team that came into the halftime. Probably not with the high hopes that they really would have wanted, but obviously we just had a 10-minute halftime. Maybe that's what they need.
Yeah, hopefully so. And again, I'll send it right back to you guys. Imagine, again, we're back out in Philadelphia. This beautiful skyline, beautiful
so
city.
Good.
And just...
Well, we had a nice little halftime break. You get to see the beautiful skyline of Pittsburgh.
Nope, that's not Pittsburgh.
You have infected me, Karma. I blame you so much.
We're very geographically challenged.
Yes.
And we can't speak.
Wow, this is going very well. Welcome back to the halftime break that you just heard us talking, and you get to hear us talk more. Lucky you. We go on to push as our fourth.
And I think what's interesting is the push map that we're going to be going to is going to be Coliseo from the looks of it. And I mean, this is one that I think, a lot of people despise as far as push goes. And there's one particular reason. And it's not that long hallway in the center like a lot of people think it is. It's actually the two high grounds on either side of it that are very, very oppressive. And that's kind of where, if you're Louisiana Lobsters, you want to try and play for that specific advantage and also maybe use that really long sight line and that high ground to Andrew's advantage. Try and find some of those big Sojourn pickoffs. On the other side, if you're Dirt Esports, you ride the momentum. You try and get as much value as you can in that close quarters, long corridor, and you deny that high ground from Louisiana Lobsters. You just gotta get the snowball to go past it, and you're home free.
Yeah, but I mean, it is very good for the Doom. Those alternating high ground. You're going to have a constant back and forth weaving, which, I mean, maybe Sigma, he's got the shield, he has the ability to block that high ground, but I still think it is going to be better for a tank that can just constantly swap back and forth wherever they need. See if that's what is needed as we get closer and closer to map 4. I'm going to ask you a question. Would you like to go to the loser circle, Cassie?
No. Why would I ever want to go to any place called the loser circle?
Because I want to be cool.
It's pretty cool over here on the winner side over here. And I think it's going to stay pretty cool over here as long as Slicky Nicc is able to stay alive. Our success depends entirely on whether or not this Ana lives. So if we can get like a death counter or something going, if it goes like above 5, we might be in trouble. But I think as long as we're able to like keep the deaths low, keep our Ana in the game, I think Dirt Esports, they can take this one. I think they've got a chance to keep the momentum going.
Yeah, it should be a fun one. Is it going to be the 4-1 that you mentioned? I mean, that is still in play.
Yeah.
One map was won by the Louisiana Lobsters, and now it seems like Dirt Esports, they are rolling towards that potential 4-1 that you mentioned, but they're going to have to win 2 more maps, which means this is not our potential final map. We've still got a couple more Overwatch games to see, and here's where we get to see those compositions that you and I talked about, where it's going to be very, very important whether or not the changes are going to be there, whether or not that Ana from Slicky Nicc and the nades are still as powerful as they were on those previous maps. And of course, we get to see the beautiful. This is a Roman Skyway. What do they call the future electronics in the Overwatch universe? I don't know.
That's a train.
That is a train.
It's a SkyTrain. I don't know.
That is a
By the way,
train.
you were talking about compositions. I want to have a look over at Dirt Esports, by the way. I know it's kind of silly and it's attacker spawns, but Gentle Giant was hovering over the Roadhog here, and I only call that out because they actually did play a little bit of that against Space Taken. And granted, you know, that very well might just be because they were, you know, going up 4-0 in that series. It was the, you know, match point. They can kind of get a little bit silly. But they are walking out of the spawn with it. We're seeing a little bit of Roadhog.
Wow.
Esports are all about that base.
What?
And even giving a shout out to Dirt Gaming, the Roadhog player.
There is...
I don't know if they know they're doing that, but they're doing it.
There is just so... I mean, Torbjorn, Lifeweaver, Iliadi, Roadhog, that is almost nothing similar to what we saw. I think the Soldier 76 is really going to be the only thing, and it's not consistent from Dabber. I mean, Lobsters, they changed a lot. We're in for a whole new ballgame.
These are compositions that you will only see in Tranquility, or if you are having like NyQuil-fueled dreams while the you know,
We're here to
seasonal
have
allergies
fun.
hit.
We're here to have fun, Cassie, and oh my
Yeah,
goodness!
Vespa King's not having a whole lot of fun there.
Yeah! Just stuck right in front of Roadhog is not where you want to be, and with that cleanup, going to be the Lobsters getting 18%. I mean, ooh, very impressive. And
I mean, so there's a lot of poke and also a lot of close-range shotgunning, just like KDN's doing right here between, you know, you have the Torbjorn and you have the Roadhog, so you kind of have both close and mid-range covered. You're going to have the Yari pumping out some bits of damage. You got the Soldier 76 that can kind of get around, take some angles. This is where it's going to get a little bit difficult, because look at all of the poke that's on the side of Louisiana Lobsters. This is very much a high ground composition. Curiously, though, Vespa King is not on the high ground, so might be a little bit vulnerable, especially if Gentle Giant's able to find a hook. Looks like Dirt Esports are actually going to back up and give space. They don't want to take the fight when the high ground is in favor of the Lobsters.
oh my goodness, what are you doing, Dabber? How did you make such a long
Alright,
play?
our high ground now.
Especially with Nicc! They make it work! I mean, unexpected, but it's something crazy to see, and it works out for Dirt Esports.
That's a great way to negate the high ground, is you just take it for your
Just
own.
take
There's
it.
still a little bit of bot progress that needs to be made before it's completely nullified, but you can see how far forward Dirt Esports are going to play. They're going to leave a couple people back to push the bot, and the rest are just going to prevent Louisiana Lobsters from having that high ground. I'm worried, though, if they start to get a little bit too close quarters, if that match is going to become a factor.
KDN,
Oh, never mind.
this is not the high ground you usually expect to talk about. And KDN is able to take down Andrew. How do you let that happen? It's a direct trade, but Dirt Esports are able to take so much space. They're gonna get into butt scratch mode. It's so big.
And yeah, this is all the space they need. They have the butt scratch mode, and the bot is now underneath that high ground, which means every single time Dirt Esports get back in control of the bot, if they ever lose it from here on out, it's just gonna sprint right back to this same point. They no longer have to worry about this oppressive high ground Louisiana Lobsters have. By the way, they've swapped over onto the horse. They got Arisa on the field to try and negate Gentle Giant. Just use the spears to try and get him out of their face, but it's just not working. They're finally getting a little bit of a presence on the bot here, but everyone from Dirt Esports is lurking in their backline.
And now the tree is gonna go up. It's honestly, you didn't even need it, if I'm being honest, because Dirt Esports have just consistently been getting these opening picks. Have Louisiana Lobsters actually been able to get a kill since that first point?
There was at least one kill. I think it was onto KDN, who was, you know, you were talking about.
That is true,
yeah.
up in the high ground, but that was.
Yeah, but you know,
like,
he's back now, so it's fine. It's just whatever. Speaking of that high ground, Dirt Esports, for whatever reason, have 3 people up there holding it. It looks like they're going to evacuate the dance floor there and get back over onto the bot, but there's been so much progress.
Now Andrew is finally able to get Lobsters just a piece. And I think that piece is really all that they need, because now you do see that Arisa taking a lot of space, something that the Lobsters have actually been denied a lot of, and what feels like the first time in this map. We're halfway through, they finally get just a breath.
But the bot's not even back to the center here, and Dirt Esports are already ready for the next fight. You kind of have to use both your DPS ults to try and take any degree of space here, and be on the lookout for Dabber, who you can already see the silhouette is going for another flank. Got the tack visor. If Dirt Esports live long enough for him to pull the trigger on that, Louisiana Lobsters aren't going to see it coming.
Oh, but that Bastion is just going to be such an important part, and they're able to get away. The Bastion is just a hair from not getting that. And now you have the ultimates being dedicated from the side of the Lobsters, still get nothing.
They just use the pedal platform as an umbrella.
Save them. I mean, it works, and now you're going to have Dirt able to swing around, get something of their own. It's going to be a 1-for-1, but still Dirt ahead 2 when it comes to that Molten Core. And I think this will be enough, especially with that tree dedicated, but not with Keo using that ult. It's just going to be a support and a tank, and a support and a tank on both sides. And there's the finisher.
The Captive Sun coming through from Nicc. If they can get rid of King, which they should be able to now that they're back at full strength, they're able to take it. I like the swap from Keo over onto the Zenyatta, put the Discord Orb onto Gentle Giant, and he should pretty much always be sweating. But, I mean, even the Transcendence coming out was too little too late. It's just to try and keep King. It's just to try and keep the fight alive. They still have to worry about that high ground, and Dabber didn't actually go through with that whole flanking tack visor, still has it, and should be able to leverage it to great degree here. Already takes down Pyojin even without it.
The story of the flanking legs, honestly. Like, Dabber and Nicc have just been going on their own adventure. There's nothing Keo can do. You got 2 people on you, and because of that split that Dabber and Co have done, Dirt Esports are going to be able to get their spawn, able to keep pushing that bot, and just put that oppressive lead over their opponent.
Pyojin actually going to swap off the Bastion over onto the Mei. This kind of feels like desperation swaps, but that's still valuable. If they're able to isolate Gentle Giant, stop him from getting support, they might be able to burst him down, but I mean, they're going to have to invest some ults here. They lose Keo again, and this is such an oppressive place for Dabber to be holding onto that visor.
I would not have been the first person to say it, but this Torbjorn pick has been a wrench.
The vitriol in your voice when you said Torbjorn pick.
But
you're right, though.
I mean, it has just been such a thorn in the side of Louisiana Lobsters. There's nothing that they can really do. They've swapped Pyojin twice now. King is going to dedicate an ult. It only takes down the immortality field, and even then, it really doesn't get you much. Andrew is finally able to get something, taking down the healer, taking down that Torbjorn that I mentioned was just so difficult to deal with. It is going to be Lobsters getting something again, but it's just always at the cost of Dirt Esports getting more profit.
And you do utilize a lot of ults. You know, you end up using the Terra Surge and you use the Overclock just to try and make that one happen. Dirt Esports, yeah, they invest the tack visor, but they were holding on to that for a rainy day anyway. They've got pretty much everything else they could ever want. I'm curious as to whether or not this Junkrat pick is going to pay off. Like, what exactly is the thought process here? There's an Ant Majors coming out from Nonfiction, and yeah, you can tell King wants none of that right now.
Yeah, even with the Fortify, too. You're going to have that Captive Sun go out. It's actually going to push the Orisa forward. It's going to be a support for a tank, and we'll only have to wait to see which one it actually benefits. And I think it is going to be Dirt Esports. Lucio's still alive. Keo is riding that wall, knowing that it's his only safe haven, but it's only going to keep Louisiana Lobsters in the fight just a little bit longer. And Baptiste, just dedicating cooldown, using the jump ability, doing whatever he can just to delay the inevitable. It's still Dirt Esports, barely stopping the bot before it even touches that little push.
And I kind of think it comes back to just the fact that they were able to get the butt scratch so early. Dirt Esports, they don't have to worry about this high ground. The Louisiana Lobsters should favor them here. They should be able to hold here, but they can't.
Oh my god.
There's a great pick off there. Pyojin with 2. Okay, wait a minute.
How do you let that happen? I mean, you're able to punish the flanking legs. I think that is exactly what Pyojin was trying to do the entire time, and it worked like a charm. So you don't let the bot even get to that first checkpoint, so now you're going to be able to cross it. And yes, Dirt Esports do get that spawn, but it feels like this is the first time that Louisiana Lobsters may actually be able to get some progress because of the sheer amount of ults that they have.
There's so much progress they have to make up here. Riptire going to come out. That's got to claim at least 1, but it actually just takes down the pylon and the immortality field, so I don't want it to wait that out before pulling the trigger, but Nicc gonna pull the trigger and Andrew falls.
No way! Pyojin has been the difference maker, able to get 2 with the concussion mine that takes everything off of Gentle Giant. I said that the Torbjorn pick was with pure vitriol. The Junkrat pick.
I mean, you know, for both of these comps, I think it's don't overthink it. In fact, don't think about it at all. We just kind of go for it. They're going to be able to get the butt scratch mode, so forward spawns will kind of come into play here as we start to go into OT. The early Molten Core comes out from KDN, and Louisiana Lobsters, they're going to go ahead and get it. There's the checkpoint, 10 seconds on the clock. Do Dirt Esports have a way to shut this push down, or have the Lobsters bought their way back into it?
KDN on the Pharah, too. We saw this very early on. We saw how ineffective it was. Is this just going to be a curse that maybe comes back to bite them and almost killing KDN? Gonna be that range that makes sure that the Pharah stays alive, but actually nothing to really keep her healthy, and Andrew's gonna be able to punish that. Pyongyang's going to be in this side, or maybe to lob bombs in. He is pressured away, but Gentle Giant doesn't really have the healing. Is he actually gonna be able to keep Louisiana Lobsters away from the point? And will that be the one thing that gifts them victory? Pyongyang goes down. Vespa King is going to fall, and it seems like it's going to be Dirt Esports with the ultimates. They're gonna be able to go across the finish line and get another one closer up to match point.
I mean, I already said it once, but it rings especially true for Dirt Esports. Don't overthink it. In fact, don't think about it at all. Just play your game. Play whatever the heck you want. Play Roadhog, Torbjorn. Literally, who cares? If you're this good at it and this, seemingly this good at pushing the advantage with it, then yeah, you can get away with it, even into somewhat of a coherent comp, especially if you're able to, like I said, deny that high ground. Don't let Louisiana Lobsters have that potentially oppressive high ground that can shut your composition down. Dirt Esports going to go up 3-1. Are the Lobsters boomed after this one?
Yeah, you had moments where it felt like maybe they had a comeback story brewing. Saw Pyongyang was hiding in the corner, shutting down Dabber for what felt like good last quarter of the match. I just think it's too little too late. You let Dirt Esports get so much progress. And by the time you get to that butt scratch mode, you have 100%. You still have to get. It was literally like 60 meters versus 120 meters. And here's just that final tick down. The amount of ultimates that Dirt Esports was able to throw at them. And Kiyu did not have that sound barrier. It's only a wonder that Dirt Esports were finally able to come away with it in the end with everything that they had stocked up.
And everything they stocked up, the one that actually came in the most clutch there was the whole hog that came out from Gentle Giant. Pushed everybody away, especially Vespa King, who had like a sliver of health after he fell off a ledge there. Wasn't able to keep the cart in contention and had to sheepishly walk back to it with that aforementioned sliver of health before someone repossessed that sliver of health, took it away from him. And yeah, that's just kind of it, just that one big ultimate was realistically all that Dirt Esports needed, and they put themselves in a position where all you need is one big ult, all you need is one good fight, and it was going to be an uphill battle for Louisiana Lobsters the entire way through, but for Dirt Esports to put themselves in that position early on where they didn't even have to worry about that. They didn't have the same mountain to climb. In fact, they barely even had a molehill to climb by the tail end of it. They were practically knocking on Louisiana Lobsters' door. It was too little too late. Louisiana Lobsters, they swing it back, but too little too late.
Yeah. Final map that we have ahead of us. It's going to be an escort map. And I think we've gone away from the Doomfist. We've seen its effectiveness, its ineffectiveness, the Ana, the Orisa, the Junk Queen. We have had a full rotation of tanks tonight. Are we going to see more? A Ramatra, a Zarya, or are we going to go back to the good old days of the Sigma, the Doomfist, depending on the map that we go on? I mean, Circuit Royale, that is Sigma's haven. Literally ever since that map was put in the pool, we saw Sigma getting played on it, and it would not be a surprise for that to actually get picked, considering how good the Louisiana Lobsters are on it.
It wouldn't be a huge surprise, and it's a good thing that I don't like surprises because we are indeed going to be going to Circuit Royale, and yeah, if you're Louisiana Lobsters, you go back to Sigma here, because it's, like you said, his haven, it's where he likes to play best, it's his own personal private bouncy castle. You try to rely on Andrew to hit some of those big shots, get your hit scan, get some big hit scan plays in there. Take space, hold the angles, all the things that you love to do. It's good old-fashioned Sigma. If you're Dirt Esports, though, question, what do you come out with? Do you come out with the Doomfist again and try and play that into the Sigma, or do you match the Sigma because of just how much the map favors it?
It's a question that pretty difficult considering that Louisiana Lobsters are on the cusp of losing not only the grand finals, but technically the best of 3 that they put themselves in throughout the entire season, which you decide which is more important at the end of the day. I mean, personally, the best of 3 is kind of something I really want to win. Grand finals is like cool and all, but as you said, the bragging rights is always something that you want to have.
The good news is if you're Dirt Esports and you win this map, you get both. And
that's true.
Even more good news, my prediction that it was be a 4-1 is correct. And you better believe I'm going to be so smug about that for the rest of your life, actually.
Yeah, the one time that you won Tranquility Season 11 Discord Grand Finals, the one we casted, will be brought up.
I'm the GOAT for a reason.
At my funeral. So, Circuit Royale.
If there was ever a place for a Sigma team to make their last stand, Circuit Royale, it's got to be the place. I mean, I don't even want to say, like, yeah, it's do or die for Louisiana Lobsters, because that's a little bit redundant given the current score line, but, you know, even if it was, like, you know, only a 2-1 right now or only a 1-1, I still kind of feel like if you lose Circuit Royale, the Sigma map, as the Sigma team, it's kind of over. Like, you're boomed. What do you do after that? Because the deck was as stacked in your favor as it could have potentially been, and you blew it.
Yeah, there's only so much we can theorize about with Nicc and how effective this shields can be compared to the almighty Doomfist and his annoyance, according to Cassie. Do you think like a Sigma is guaranteed on this map? We'll see a Sigma matchup.
I would say almost absolutely, and the only reason that I say that is because the only other tank that I've seen played here, you know, to any degree of excess is Winston, and that was during more heavy dive favored metas that we were in for like the past year. There would be a lot of Winston metas on either side. Neither of these teams had pulled out the Winston yet, although if anyone's going to, I would think Dirt Esports might be the first one to reach for that particular hero, something a little bit more dive favored, something we haven't seen yet. And hey, they've shown us flexibility. Why not show us like one more little pose here, one more move?
We have seen a lot of surprises. The Torbjorn, the Junkrat, Bastion, Roadhog. I mean, I'm trying to think of who would be. We all get a Life Weave, which is a surprise.
You know what's interesting? I don't think we've seen Brigitte.
You did talk about how she doesn't feel good to play, and I think the worst thing you can have is not whether a character is bad, is if they feel bad.
If they're bad and they feel, yeah, because then you don't even want to try.
No, that's 2 different things. That's 2
hey,
different things.
Production, why is this the image we're opening? Why did we start with toes? Is it because it's a Sigma map? Are you trying to allude to something? Because Vespa King is taking the bait so far. It is it is a Sigma map. They are looking to open up with the Sigma. Dirt Esports playing Roadhog on Circuit Royale. I never thought I'd see the day.
Will it be effective? Because, I mean, Gentle Giant, ever since that first map, has been absolutely slaving away on any tank. Junker Queen, Doomfist, and now Hog. We saw how good they were on that third map, but I kind of agree with you. I think Circuit Royale is going to be difficult, especially if you're not going to really able to get those hooks as well. But as we shift our focus to the actual game, Andrew has been something that is just out of reach. He hasn't really had the most effectiveness that we really would have wanted, considering how important the Soldier can be.
And a lot of pressure is going to be on Andrew to try and get some, get some picks, try and take some space. At least use the threat of the rail shot to take some space. And speaking of taking space, Vespa King has just waltzed right up and taking the high ground directly above Gentle Giant for free. Forced KDN back, but no one has dealt with KDN yet.
I was about to say there's no way that KDN is able to get away given exactly the amount of people in their way. Andrew's able to put the player down to 1 health, and Dirt Esports hasn't really put up a fight. They just cannot with a Roadhog because look at what is pushing him back. The Junkrat, the Soldier, the Sigma of all things, and what an easy first point.
Yeah, I mean, like, I just don't love the Roadhog pick here, like, at all. You can't control space. Vespa King literally just waltzes up for free, doesn't get hooked somehow, and takes the high ground. KDN is forced to vacate the premises, in fact, even vacate the Hanzo, now swapping over onto the Genji, which I also kind of worry about with the Junkrat in play and with everything that Louisiana Lobsters have. how much value is this Genji realistically going to get? Because it feels like he's going to have a bad time every time he even tries to go in. Andrew with an early pickoff onto Dabber, so you definitely don't want to go in now.
And with the Amp Matrix, you're going to be huddled in a corner, which is going to be great for Sigma. Andrew is able to get one onto Gentle Giant. Dedication of the ults for Louisiana Lobsters is maybe questionable, but if they're able to get the cart onto that second checkpoint, I think you can call it even, especially with the huge time bank that they have.
I mean, typically you don't want to double stack support ultimates, but let's be realistic. That Captive Sun is more of a DPS ultimate than Dragon Blade is sometimes.
Yeah.
And Hadian's still trying to work up to that. There's a Captive Sun on the side of Dirt Esports, and they might go in with a commanding shout to try and get a touch there, but it's too late! They've already capped!
Vesper King actually dedicates the ult. Gentle Giant's going to be able to sit in the corner, but Nonfiction can't peek to try to eke in something, and that is actually going to get them kills, but they cap.
Yeah, and I mean, this is where it's going to get kind of dicey. Like, I mean, Dirt Esports, at least this is a point where, you know, the Jungle Queen composition might be kind of favored, because Sigma's going to have a harder time taking high ground against it, especially when you're playing this far forward. So yeah, switch over to the Ramattra, something where you can play a little bit more of that brawl style, where you can put out the punches and, you know, try and play into that Jungle Queen a little bit. You also still have the ult advantage, so you should be able to break through this. Riptire, where are you going with this? It's all the way around the map. I've actually never seen this before. It does make it. Okay.
That was a tire of all time. I love the effort. I love the effort that went into it. Pyongyang went all the way back and then brought out the tire, and it was completely ineffective. Luckily for them, Andrew is here to play. They're going to clean up on 2, and Pyongyang's actually going to get one themselves if they waltz all the way back. And if tire effectiveness...
Nobody tell him that we saw that.
There's no way.
Nobody talk to don't tell Louisiana Lobsters, don't tell any of them that we saw what happened there. We'll just say that we were spectating Andrew and they won the fight off of the picks. You know, the Junkrat was there to help. We got a couple big...
I genuinely think that is one of the funniest things I've ever seen. Which is... Alright. I think we got a Pyongyang. Like I said, tire not, they're still doing great work. Their concussion mines have just been absolutely on par. Gideon has to play such a dangerous angle here because with the health that they are at, one hit will take them down. Kyo's going to be able to score off of that, and now you're just stuck in the corner. Yeah, Gentle Giant, you can rampage, but you're going to have a giant nemesis for Ramattra in your face, and Louisiana Lobsters might cap with a huge time bank, but Gentle Giant, you're able to swing it back. But Pyongyang in the grave, but you have this absolutely huge annihilation pushing all of these players back off the car where they need to be. Their health is slowly draining, and even the ult from Dabber is not going to get anything done to clean up duty onto the Tracer's all that's required, and it's Louisiana Lobsters. 3:21 on the time bank.
Circuit Royale is a very, very defender-favored map, one that is not always guaranteed that you full cap. To do it with 3:21, that is an eternity in Circuit Royale time. We go, you know, going back to where we're rewriting the very laws of time and space. Circuit Royale time it does function on a different plane. Where 3:21, yeah, that's an eternity. If you're Dirt Esports, getting the cap here is not a guarantee at all. Matching that time bank, even less of one, you've set yourself up for absolute failure here. That's something where it's like, okay, we have such a mountain to climb. If we cap it all and we go into extra innings, we have to try and go the entire distance with whatever we have, because 3:21, I mean, that's probably about how long it took for Louisiana Lobsters to cap this at all. And that's, you know, they didn't even need rip tires to do it. They didn't even need tires on the bus, they just kept going.
Yo, we got his pretty poppin' on the Junkrat though. Like, they've been hitting these concussion mines, which, I mean, yeah, I don't know why I'm saying, like, we as if it's a community-wide opinion. I feel like concussion mine isn't as skill-based as hitting your bombs.
It's not really, like, as skill-based as far as, like, actually hitting the ability, but it's utilization of the ability, because a lot of Junkrats will try and resort mostly to using it for mobility rather than using it for damage. They kind of forget how valuable the damage can be, so they'll try and use both of them to escape, or they'll use one and try and set it up, like, with their trap somewhere to catch someone off guard, you know?
Use the concussion mine on the door.
Yeah, he wants to use it for damage, which honestly, if it works and it keeps getting kills, that's the way that you want to play it here. Right now, just trying to use the spam damage to deter any sort of way in for KDN or Gentle Giant, which, by the way, for Esports, on that Doomfist composition, I'm curious what value Dabber is going to get playing the Soldier 76 here versus something like the Sojourn, where you might have a little bit more one-shot potential. That said, a lot of damage goes onto the backline of the Lobsters early. I think that might have been a Helix rocket that came through pretty huge, and they lose Pyojun.
It's a 2-for-1 special at this point. And I think your support's being caught all the way in the back. Nicc has to survive and yet cannot because of KDN, who's able to clean up onto the second.
Vespa King's been on the cart the whole time.
Yeah, Vespa King took down Slicky Nicc and then realized how bad it was all the way in the backline and was like, I gotta stay here. Like,
I like that. He's like, I know the fight's lost, but I'm not moving. You move me. You get me out of here. But I also do like the utilizing the Kiriko here, because even if Slicky Nicc dies, you do still kind of have that contingency plan, someone who can utilize the Suzu and the healing to try and keep the Doomfist alive, and that helps them take a whole bunch of space. That said, there's this high ground up here where you've got Nicc playing right now. You're going to have to try and get him off of there. You're also going to have to find a way to dislodge Vespa King, who's playing very far forward and preventing you from getting around this corner.
oh, here's that Doomfist, the Genji, the pushing. And Vespa King is still worried about that front line. You have to back up, my friend. You have to provide support, because you won't get any healing otherwise, and Vespa King will fall because of it. Amp Matrix is dedicated, which may keep Louisiana Lobsters alive for just a little bit. The trap is there, but Gentle Giant survives, and the cart still persists. Another punch puts both of those healers out of commission, along with Slicky Nic's shots. And while it's not as fast as Dirt Esports, I think the effectiveness is definitely on the same level.
I do like the fact that we're actually seeing like Junkrat here on Circuit Royale, Junkrat in France. I've been pitching the Junkratatouille spin-off for years now, and we might actually finally get it. Never mind, now we're switching to Torbjorn. Despite the Junkrat heroics, though, which, you know, it didn't quite pay off, because like you said, Gentle Giant was still alive, found the big punches, found all the value. It all comes down to Vespa King falling early. He does have a Gravitic Flux here, and if they're able to win this fight with that Gravitic Flux, they can once again leverage this high ground, and it can become very oppressive for Dirt Esports here.
Oh, the Nano Blade, and you don't have anything to counter it.
Yeah, you do.
Solo ult the Genji, but you lose Vespa King because of it. So not only do you lose the fight, you lose what can be a pivotal ult, and now all Lobsters can do is just back off. That feels like a punch to the face and also to the nether region.
Well, it's a good idea for Vespa King to take the swap over onto something that can punch back the Ramatra a little bit here. Especially, again, like we said, this third point isn't going to favor the Sigma all that well, because you can't leverage the high ground quite as much. You'd rather have your hit scan players over on flanks, so I get it. But, I mean, you threw away that ultimate ability. You're throwing away the advantage. You do throw away KDN, so you're kind of sitting pretty right now. You can buy yourself back into this.
321 is the time to beat. Currently, Dirt Esports stuck, might not be able to match it. They would have to go all the way to the end here if they want to go bar for bar with the time. But I don't think that's really what they're worried about. Getting a cap in decent time is really all that matters here. The Amp Matrix is actually going to keep them all the way, and you kill Andrew right before the immo field goes down. The ults from Dirt Esports seem to do the job here, and Slicky Nicc falls, but because that spawn is so close to the cart, it's really not going to matter in the end here. The Louisiana Lobsters, do you play the long game? Do you waste time, not worry about if they can?
I think you still want to try and bleed as much time bank off of the clock as you possibly can. You do want to, like, get them down, and if you can hold completely and stop them from capping, you definitely go for that. But it's not looking too great, because they've thrown in ults into losing fights. You know, they throw in the Captive Sun, don't get anything. Shio's actually going to swap over onto the Kiriko. You throw in the Amp Matrix, and it wasn't quite enough. You lose Andrew early, who had the overclock. Now you don't even have any ults on the field. Dirt Esports can press this advantage. Dabber has the high ground where you want to be with this tack visor. Dirt Esports, I mean, they're not going to be able to match the time bank, but they might be able to get damn close.
Flanking legs at its best. The immo field keeps the Baptiste alive. And yes, Dabber is able to get one, but he puts himself in such a dangerous position. Not able to get away. There is Andrew, and you just have to kill this Kiriko, and that is going to be Dirt Esports back. That's huge because now ults are really going to be the big definer.
I can't say I agree with Dabber jumping off the high ground with that tac visor. I think even though, you know, you want to get that Baptiste, you get a little bit too greedy there. You give up your favorable positioning. He's able to pop the Immortality Field. Dixie lives throughout all of that, and Gentle Giant ends up falling for it. And, you know, again, without your Doomfist, you're not going to be able to take all that much space, especially with the spawn advantage in favor of Louisiana Lobsters. Nanoblade's going to come out here for Dirt Esports. Are they going to be able to find much with it?
Swings are not working out to effectiveness. You get the Ramatra, you get the Sojourn. Probably not as clean as you really would have wanted. Maybe it's actually worse for Lobsters because down goes Keo, and the only thing Thixie can do is just bounce around, try to survive, and that might be it. Because Louisiana Lobsters can't actually get their Baptiste in the fight.
He's gonna fall. Vespiking does have this Annihilation though, so Dirt Esports are gonna want to play it a little bit safe there. Nonfiction actually gonna go ahead and pop the Kitsune Rush to try and drive this one home, but the damage is there.
And this is massive. Gentle Giant is going to have that healing with that recent buff, so he's going to slam down onto these opponents, but he doesn't have any support beyond that ultimate, and time continues to tick down. Pyongyang on the Widowmaker.
Time ticks down, but so does the ult bank for Dirt Esports. They used just about everything there. They went with the Nanoblade early on in the fight. They used the Kitsune Rush. They used the Meteor Strike. They don't have anything. I mean, yeah, sure, only a Kitsune Rush on the side of Louisiana Lobsters, but with the spawn advantage for Dirt Esports, you have to be able to at least match that. Right now, they don't have a damn thing but a prayer.
The healing has to be there for Gentle Giant. You're able to get one. That's what happened earlier, was the kill onto Andrew. But eventually, Lobsters won the fight. Punch is going to be there, takes down Pyongyang, and here's that Doofus. We talked about Gentle Giant. We talked about how good they were. But Keo still is going to be able to survive, not for very much longer. And it's all going to be up to Vespiking to drain time, take a kill or two if they can get it to overtime. That could be the difference maker because that gives Lobsters so much time to work with. But as the blade is there, as the visor is there, it seems that Dirt is going to be able to cap with just 22 seconds. And that time bank could be the real difference maker in the end.
Rounds us up to a minute. That's going to put Louisiana Lobsters total up to 3:58. Nearly 4 minutes for Louisiana Lobsters. And we're going to start with Dirt Esports. So they have to set the bar pretty damn high. And they had a great showing on the first 2 points. It stalled out on the third point there. They kept finding the kills that they needed, but they came too slowly. The spawn advantage was just too difficult to overcome until the very last second. And now we're set up in this place where, like I said, you have to set the bar high. You have to damn near full cap, and then go even harder on the defense. Stop Louisiana Lobsters from doing essentially what they did on their first attack. You have to learn from your mistakes.
Seems that for now, they're gonna go. Stop.
The Broad team hasn't learned from their mistakes. They are still on main, really.
They know. They know. Like, stop.
Something about panning to her smug face is just the funniest thing for me.
She's just like, I know, I know what just happened. I know what just occurred. Lobsters on the Sombra. Pyongyang has just been playing roulette tonight. I know we saw them one Widowmaker for like 5 seconds. And now onto the reworked Sombra. Could get some really big picks onto Slicky Nicc.
Yeah, and this time Nonfiction is actually on the Lucio, because Dirt Esports, they're going for the Junker Queen composition rather than the Doomfist. So, you know, obviously the Sombra is going to be able to scout all of this out, going to call it all out to their team, and that's going to change the way that Louisiana Lobsters play. They've also swapped over off of the Sigma over onto the Ramatra. An early pickoff, though, onto Keo. That's an opening.
Now you actually do have the shout, and somehow KDN is just in the front line. You're able to take out these DPS, take out these supports without much contention. If Dirt Esports wanted to set the bar high, this is absolutely the way to do it.
Yeah, you gotta snowball, and this is how you get the ball rolling. That said, I mean, look at how they're stacking the cart again with only KDN walking forward. I want them to keep maybe 3 on cart, but I think Gentle Giant at least should be trying to push up. Goyun is back over onto the Junkrat, and from high ground, this is going to be a pain to try and play into. Look at the spam damage already coming out. That's going to scatter Dirt Esports. Might even force a C9 if the Riptire comes online.
If Pyongyang doesn't go for the very very long flank.
Please don't go for that long of a game.
No, if Pyongyang's able to get that tire, I do worry for Dort Esports because it means this fight is going to be going for very, very long. Non-fiction barely alive in the corner. If they go down, it could be disastrous, but they're able to keep this team alive. It's Pyongyang with the concussion mine, able to take down KDN. The blade is not going to be there, and the tire is going to keep building. They're still alive. Lucio is going to try to get a boop. It's not going to be able to keep Vespa-King in the fight. And this fight continues to go on. And I still worry for Dirt Esports despite everything, because ult on the side of Lobsters is still going to be there. Pyongyang is going to have the tire. Kitsune Rush is going to go down, and Nicc will fall. The sound barrier is going to go out in response, and it seems that the anti-nade is not going to be there in the tire. Completely ineffective. And with a couple of meters, Dirt Esports do not have the edge they really want. They still have to dedicate more ults after everything. Cassie and Pyongyang with a last little stab. He knows that Louisiana Lobsters still have a fight to win.
They're going to have the rampage to do it, but it took everything else under the sun for Dirt Esports, and it's like that can all be nullified with the Suzu. So Louisiana Lobsters, considering their time bank, considering the fact that they're all back to full strength, considering they have a sizable ult advantage, and can counter the one hope and the one prayer that Dirt Esports have, Louisiana Lobsters are sitting so pretty right now. They are so set up for success. Dirt Esports have to find something huge to swing it in their favor. An early pickoff onto Nicc would be great, but they're not able to get it before the nano comes out.
Oh, you were waiting for the Q to pop. No chance. Nicc survives, and now it's just going to continue to reap the life of Lucio, reap the life of the Genji. A point. 46 meters is where Dirt Esports is going to stand. Can Louisiana Lobsters, monster of a time pool, 4 minutes, get them this amount of space? I feel like if they don't get this, they shouldn't have won the grand finals.
Capping the first point is pretty massive for Dirt Esports, but like I said, the bar needed to be set high. You needed to go higher, you needed to go further. And because it was so scrappy at the end of point A, and you had to invest so much just to even make that much happen, when the ults come out for the Lobsters, the Nano, the Annihilation, they almost even forced the C9 just with that ult combo alone. I mean, Dirt Esports, able to still get the touch, but you're coming right back into the waiting arms of Ramatra, which doesn't sound all that bad when I say it like that.
Of course.
When there's a Nano and an Annihilation on the field, it's not nearly as pleasant as it might sound.
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of people would definitely like that, but they're cold. They're steel. I think Dirt Esports really did feel that right there, with how much that Annihilation just absolutely took them away. I am astounded by how effective Pyongyang has been on the Junkrat. Like, this is a character where you go, like, silly. Jake goes on Junkrat, and you're like, oh, of course Jake goes on Junkrat. He's Jake-Rat.
The streets call it the J Silly for a reason.
Yet nobody does that, and yet Pyongyang is here, sticking onto the Rat.
Oh, it's time to go real silly for this one. This is gonna be a triple mine combo into the back line. Nicc doesn't realize how in danger he is. Actually gonna go for KDN.
What? Under what circumstance, what reality does that work? It takes the Sojourn off of the high ground. A huge Nanty is gonna kill Junker Queen, who actually is able to get one. They turn this around despite the huge anti coming out from Nicc, despite Andrew not being here.
It's so bad for KDN to fall right there, Andrew, with that early pickoff there. But like I was saying, I was calling out that should have been going for Nicc, because Nicc lives, so too does Gentle Giant. So too does this defense for the time being. Gentle Giant gets antied again, is going to be able to get healed. Nicc still hanging out on the high ground. No one can dislodge this honor right now.
You would expect that to happen maybe of Andrew, but the space just isn't there. So you have the rest of these people, KDN, you have Dabber, even the Reaper, who is in that front line, able to push onto these supports. And so now Louisiana Lobsters, their time bank just continues to get sucked down, and eventually they're going to reach that minute time bank that Dirt Esports had. And all the lead they had and the big point cap they had is eventually going to be whittled down into nothing.
The Kitsune rush. There's going to be a nade there, but Gentle Giant with the axe takes down Nixie, and this fight, oh no, the nano gets canceled.
That might be it. That could be the turnaround that this team needs. Pyongyang is like gonna go a 1-for-1. That's just the power that Junkrat has. But Vespa King isn't going to be there, and the knives aren't hit from Kyo every single time that the Lobsters seem like they have something to push them forward. They get chopped down.
They have a lot to push them forward. Now, Dabber had to invest that Death Blossom because they lost Gentle Giant. There's no other way that you can make up for that loss in manpower. Look at the space they have to give up now. Now Louisiana Lobsters can go in with the tire, can go in with the overclock, can go in with whatever they damn well please, and Dirt Esports have to play into it. Nonfiction is playing very close to the sun, but Dabber, the hero!
This keeps happening. You keep having a come from behind, and now the Nano is dedicated. It's going to not really get anything, so the Annihilation is going to be there. Tire as well should be able to find that Ana. It's going to push the Kiriko back, but Dabber for 2! And it's Pyongyang who is going to trade him out, but KDN, the lone 1v1, he may not be able to survive, and yet they will! The Junkrat, the Junker Queen, keeps Dirt Esports in the running!
And they're able to do it while holding on to ultimates. They have the Kitsune Rush, they have the Overclock. They're building up to another Nano and another Rampage. Louisiana Lobsters, they use nearly everything. You know, that Annihilation, the Nano, the Riptire. They have an Overclock of their own, and they're starting to get around this corner. But this is where it's going to be so hard to find any value with that Overclock. The weight of the world is on Andrew's shoulders. 41 seconds to go. Dirt Esports is going to pop the Kitsune Rush. They want to close this one out.
And KDN is going to pressure them back as well. He's got a low amount of health. He's able to slide right into safety. There is Andrew for 1. Dabber's not going to be able to get that flank, but the pressure is now on him from the Junkrat, and KDN is going to be able to get that railgun, making it an effective 4v4. Farah is in the sky trying to provide aerial support, but there is KDN for the slam. KDN has been so big with the Rampage following up. It's going to be able to get 2. The Suzu is immediately able to cleanse it, but it's not enough to save Nicc. Kiriko is going to follow up. 6 seconds. Nobody is going to be able to touch for Louisiana Lobsters. 4 minutes and 35 seconds, and yet it's Dirt Esports who claim the map, claim Tranquility Season 11 Discord Grand Finals in a 4-1 fashion, just as you called, Cassie.
And, you know, I also did call that it was going to come down to the tenacity, to the mental fortitude, and to overcome a time bank like that with that kind of a defense, that speaks to the mental fortitude of players like Dabber, who kept going in and finding 1, finding 2 picks when they had no business staying alive in that fight, keeping Dirt Esports in the fight time and time again. Slicky Nicc able to stay alive. When you keep the Ana alive, Dirt Esports will thrive. Louisiana Lobsters, I mean, towards the end, it even comes down to that staggered fight where they lose one early, but they still have maybe 30 seconds. They could have regrouped there, but they wanted it so bad. They thought they still had that massive time bank, but it all slipped away right through their fingers. And Dirt Esports, they earned this championship. After a defense like that, they deserve to call themselves champions.
Dabber on the Reaper. I think it can't be stated how important they were when it actually came to that defense. And I think part of that does fall on Louisiana Lobsters. You cannot continuously let this Reaper come from behind, get 1, 2 picks, immediately nullifying any opening picks that you have. And they were absolutely effective on the Soldier, but I feel like they made that big difference on the Reaper. And it's bold, because we talked about them as the flanking legs. But they didn't have the support that they did with the flanking legs. It always was a huge risk, but it did pay off.
You still got the flanking power, though, with the Reaper, and it's when Louisiana Lobsters least expect it, when they've used all their cooldowns to try and initiate. That's when Dabber strikes. That's when he goes in with the Hellfire shotguns. That's when he goes in with the Death Blossoms. And even, again, like I called out, investing the Death Blossom at a very, very good time to stop the momentum from Louisiana Lobsters, stop them from being able to take any space despite having found the pickoff there onto Gentle Giant. A great understanding of the ebb and flow of the game and how they can bleed all that time, set themselves up for success despite setting themselves up for a massive failure with their first attack and defense round. We go into extra innings. Dirt Esports, like I said, they learn from their mistakes. They come out clean. They play it to near perfection, and they win 4-1. Just like I said.
They do. Okay, I'm gonna This is my loser's corner. I'm gonna go in the I gotta make sure my like face is visible, but this is still the loser's corner. I did lose the 4-1, as you can see on your screen currently. It was a very exciting game. I mean, we did see, especially in those first two maps, probably very one-sided, but just the way that these two teams clash, and a lot of times you might expect one team to come out on top. It's not what happened. And yes, is it maybe the tier that we're at? I think that could be it, but it's just exciting Overwatch to see. I'm going to be honest.
I think there's a lot of factors at play. You can say that maybe it is the tier that we're at. You could say that it is maybe the meta, which I would also kind of attribute it to. I do, again, feel that the Doomfist composition is very, very strong, and Dirt Esports seem to agree. And, they come out and they play it. They're very strong at it when they're able to play it the way it's meant to be played, and it ends up winning them a championship. You ride that. And it's also the talent of the players. Again, you look at players like Dabber, you look at players like Gentle Giant, the flexibility of the tank player to be able to play that Doomfist composition, but also to swap it over to the Junker Queen, to even look pretty dominant on the Roadhog.
Yeah.
That's flexibility. That's something that you want in a tank player in Overwatch 2. And again, Dabber going in, even when the tank player is down, to utilize what space they still had available and take it right back, suck the time bank of the Louisiana Lobsters right down the drain, serve them up with butter. That's GG. Excellent work for Dirt Esports. Congratulations to Dirt Esports for being your Tranquility Discord tier champions.
Yes, and I think we're going to transition on over to the desk to give even better analysis than you or I could have been given. So we are going to welcome back our good old friend Karma, who's been on the side watching all of this happen.
I'm apparently the desk. That's my.
That is
job
what you
today.
are.
I'm the desk. I'm the host. I'm a whole bunch for everything. I'm part of the winners corner, just shaking my head at what was going on. You take away the first map. Throw that away. Obviously, Louisiana Lobsters won that in dominant fashion 2-0. Dirt was dominant, and they put a stample on it, especially on Coliseo. Like I said during that halftime break, was Coliseo. Lobsters need to win this map. And Dirt just was like, hey, guess what? I don't care. We're playing Og Tor Lifeweaver and just saying, I don't care anymore.
Counter this.
It's like I said, Dirt Esports, don't overthink it. In fact, don't think about it at all. You just play, what are you going to do? Who's scrimming against that? If you're Louisiana Lobsters and that comes running at you full steam, you haven't practiced against that. What are you going to do? Dirt Esports, again, if you're a team that is, capable of thriving, utilizing a Doomfist composition, of course you're going to thrive under chaos. And when they're able to create the chaos for themselves, and Louisiana Lobsters have to try and tango with it, they're getting hit with fists they didn't even see coming. What do you do? What do you even do in that sort of situation?
Not to mention just any sort of compositions, anything like that. KDN, just the amount of flanking opportunities that they went on with the Torb, with the Genji, with the Hanzo, with XYZ, whatever they wanted to play. Just setting up their backline, setting up the Doomfist as well as the Junker Queen, who did get buffed as well a little bit, making so the shots did land a little bit more. And we saw that today. We saw that against the Sigma comp. We saw Dirt go to this Junker Queen brawl heavy style with the Reaper, the Genji, just trying to go forward. And that ended up being the comp that won them this match. Obviously, Circuit Royale put the attack for Louisiana Lobsters. They were fast. They were very, very good and well scrimmed with it as well with the Sigma comp. Dirt just was like, hey, we don't care. Yeah, I think that's all I'm gonna say for Dirt.
I love it.
We don't care.
It's flexibility, adaptability, tenacity. That's what Dirt Esports have, and that's what wins them championships.
Just Doomfist, always fun. Ana, you gotta set it up. Replays here, just amazing from Dirt Esports. Even the maps that they lost, they had a good idea to how to play it. They had this Pharah Mercy comp, which in theory it could really work. Just get that damage in, and then as soon as that damage goes up, the Doomfist goes in with Gentle Giant. But it just didn't function the way that they wanted to. And then they're like, hey, guess what? We got to switch it up on Midtown. They switched it up on the defensive side to the Genji style to try to clean it up with it, and especially too, just the amount of, even though yes, we sort of stuck with the Doomfist comp, they made changes to it and they played it very well. They started off with the Spherical Ana, sort of not really setting up the Ana to different aspects, but then later on, you saw the Ana getting set up every single time, making sure, hey, we want you to be the core piece of this puzzle, and it ended up working in Dirt Esports' way.
I mean, KDN swapping onto the Genji as well kind of changed the dynamic of the comp as well. Because we talked about at halftime, just how you throw the blade in. Okay, you got to bring out Immortal. Surprise! Here comes the Beyblade on in there. So you had this whole new mix of things that you had to deal with as the Louisiana Lobsters. And I think having that mortality field obviously was only one key to the puzzle. You can't have sound barrier up all the time, especially when you do have that Sigma. So Dirt Esports brought so many ways to beat down this Louisiana Lobsters team. You only have so much HP on a shield. It only is going to take so many hits before it breaks, and I think they just brought so much attack power that it broke very easily.
I'm glad that you said, by the way, that it changed the dynamic, because dynamic is a great word that you could use to describe Dirt Esports and all the compositions that they played, all the looks that they showed us. Chaotic, again, is another one that I would go for. Very dynamic, very chaotic, very silly. But hey, it's championship-winning silliness, and, you know, only in tranquility.
Yeah, and not to mention as well, taking it back last night, we saw the Ascendant tier. We saw Junk at One Trick come out with
Woo!
Bill, and now we saw Junkrat again. Actually go to aspects of winning games. I think that could have been a possibility, but Louisiana Lobsters just weren't able to go through it at the very end. And here's the people that were showing us feet on the broadcast, if we can go their way, just with our duct taped webcam right above a door frame. You get to yell at them completely.
Showing us.
Oh, he's hitting the gritty! He's hitting the gritty!
Oh my god.
Busting it. That's a white boy busting it down sexual style right there. He's got the sauce.
Yeah,
He's goated with the sauce. Thank you for showing us, like you said, feats, both literal feat and feats of strength from these teams. I'm trying to spin it, ring it back into reality here, ring it back into not hyperfixating on the feet. That's for a different stream.
Okay.
What? Okay. I think I want to go to loser circles now because of that.
Come on over here. Come on over here.
God,
you joined the prod team when it comes to feet loving.
Oh god, I'm stuck behind everything.
Yeah. Well, you're in the winners, so you get to be the winner. Okay.
I'm in the winner circle apparently, but I mean, hey, this all couldn't be done without you guys here. Any last words before we head off? Just shout out anybody. Shout out Philadelphia. Shout out. I don't know.
I will shout out Philadelphia. I mean, I mentioned at the start of this that I moved here in June. I actually did not know Cassie lived here when I made that decision. So I told her that I moved to Philadelphia. She's like, "Oh, I live there." I'm like, "Oh my god! Oh, I get to meet Cassie." And now Cassie is one of my best friends. We get to cast. We get to shoot the stuff. And now we get to cast this. I mean, it was a very enjoyable experience, and I'm very glad I got to do it with you.
Yeah, I'm glad I got to do it with you as well. I want to go ahead and shout out Drexel Esports for hosting this, and also for helping to give me my start, because I wouldn't be the caster that I am if I hadn't gotten my start here in Drexel Esports. I also do want to give a shout out, of course, to Karma. Thank you for. It's very fitting that you're joining us here, because Karma's going to be coming for me after how smug I'm going to be towards V for predicting the finals of here perfectly, flawlessly. I'm never going to let her live that down. So thank you for joining us. Leading the way as a host, and also having just a fitting name for the occasion.
I mean, yeah, honestly, we talked about it beforehand too. Louisiana Lobsters, they were favored by a lot of people in Discord tier. Karma came back for them in a hard way, 4-1, obviously. So for you guys up here, for everybody in the back, Laggy, Orange was here, Poofa was here, Sean, T, Hippy, everybody in the back. Obviously, we couldn't do it without you guys. A little bit behind the scenes beforehand, I ended up tripping and falling over and knocking this green screen down. So again, luckily this time it didn't take us 30 minutes to put back up, so we knew what we were doing. But again, thank you, Drexel Esports. Thank you to the beautiful facility of Philadelphia for accommodating us in our tomfoolery here, especially from the people in the Midwest. And then, yeah, we'll see you hopefully next week for some All-Star stuff. If not, we will see you in March for Season 12 of Tranquility. Catch you then.